Sonic in Search for Love, Chapter 1.
Sonic just received a message from Princess Sally. The note said, "I have to see you right away! I have some urgent news to tell you!" Sonic rushes off as fast as he can in order to see the princess. Sonic gets to this massive castle that is completely made out of cement, plywood, and some other things. Sonic sees Sally in the throne room, which has two bright golden chairs, red curtains, candles designed to look like Sally face, and pearls shaped into a big giant heart.
What the matter, Sally? Says Sonic.
I have to tell you something very important, but I'm not sure how to tell you this, says Sally.
Go on, Sally. I'm right here. Whatever it is, you can tell me, says Sonic.
Okay, I'll tell you, because I trust you and we've been friends for years. There's some new laws my father told me to tell you and show you some stuff also. That's why my father not here, says Sally. The new laws are as follows. 1. You must get and receive a blowjob from anyone you talk to for more than 30 seconds, except your parents and relatives. 2. You must also drink all their cum, and if they happen to pee while you're doing this, you've got to drink it. 3. You can now masturbate anywhere you want, to no even will you're standing there talking to your parents/relatives. 4. Sex is now forced after you give and receive a blowjob. You have to have sex with them. 5. The guy can now tell the woman, no gays or lesbians, sorry fags, what to do after sex for an hour. After they have sex, for example, you can tell her to drink their own vomit and make her eat her shit in yours. Note to self, don't leave this laying around again. Sally might see it and take it seriously, and I'll have to make another apologetic message. Oh, the laws now, Sonic. So now I'm gonna have to fun with your dick in my mouth and your tongue in my pussy, which is getting wet just by thinking about it, says Sally. These laws also only for us. Once you leave here and go to a town, you got to follow their laws no matter what. Sonic and Sally slowly undress each other. While Sonic was taking off Sally panties, he was fingering her, and Sally was playing with Sonic Dick while taking off his underwear. They went down on each other. Sally was just about to suck Sonic Dick while he just had to take a huge leak right into Sally's mouth. Sally forced herself to drink as much as she can and didn't mind the taste of it. Sonic enjoyed peeing into Sally's mouth and felt her sucking on his cock right after she drank it all down. Sonic licked her pussy and enjoyed her sweet, tasty cum and his mouth. Sally just finished sucking Sonic off and drank all the cum right down. Sally uses her left hand and starts playing her pussy. Sonic, next time when I play with my pussy, I'm going to cum on my food and my toothbrush because I want to taste it any chance I get. Sonic, I want your dick right in my butt, and just when you're about to cum, stick it in my pussy. Sonic his dick right into her butt, and Sally screams in pain, ouch, and then tells Sonic to keep going. Yes, Sonic, yes, keep going, it feels so good, says Sally.
Sally, I'm going to come soon, so turn over so I can come inside your pussy, says Sonic.
Sally turns around just in time for Sonic to stick his dick inside her pussy to come. That felt so good, Sonic! I want to feel that joy as much as possible! Is there anything you want me to do for you now that you feel your deepest, darkest desire? Says Sally.
There's one thing for sure, Sally. I want you to play with yourself without stopping for a whole hour.
Sally starts playing with herself while she takes a leak on the floor.
There's one other thing, Sally. I also want you to lick up your own pee, or all your father, the king, you broke one of his laws.
Sally starts licking up her own pee while playing with herself. Sonic stands there and watches. He enjoys this so much he had to pee again. Sally, open up.
Sally, open up,
says Sonic. Sally opens her mouth while Sonic pees into her mouth. Sally drinks it all done and is now used to the taste by now. A half an hour into this, there was a huge crash at the door. Sonic and Sally, my daughter, what are you doing? Says King Acorn. We're just following the new laws that you issued for us all, father, says Sally, while still playing with her pussy. Oh, those laws. I'm sorry, you two. I just got to get used to my daughter in this position. I'll leave you two alone.
And Sonic, I'll let you tell my daughter to do whatever you want at any time of the day. Feel free to spend the night and control my daughter for me, says King Acorn.
I will, and I'll have your daughter busy all night so she won't bug you about anything, says Sonic. The king leaves the room and Sonic has control over Sally as much as he wants to be. Sonic then keeps Sally playing with her pussy without stopping for the whole night and whatever else he could think of. The next day, Sonic got a blowjob and a quickie from Sally. I have to go meet Tails in Knothole Village at his place in half an hour. Thanks for the blowjob and the quickie, says Sonic. Sonic ran at Sonic speed and just got there in time to see Tails. Tails was talking to his uncle when he showed up. "Where were you?" asked Tails. "I was the castle with Sally. She said for me and Tails to go out and destroy an Eggman factory that near the floating island. She said we should go right now and there will be a surprise when we get back," says Sonic. "I know this is a lie, but I don't want to arouse suspicion on what me and Sally were doing yesterday," Sonic says to himself. "Kya, Uncle Chuck, me and Tails will be back later," says Sonic. "Have a good time and teach that Eggman a lesson," says Uncle Chuck. They both head off on another adventure.
Sonic the Hedgehog and Mills Tails have been best friends for years and lived in Knothole Village with their parents. They had some amazing adventures fighting off evil, Dr. Eggman, and his sidekick, Snively, who is Eggman relative. They had some tragedies along the way with the loss of Sonic Uncle Chuck and Bunny. They held a big funeral for them where everyone came to see them for one last time before they were buried underneath the earth. They both died from Eggman massive attack, while everyone managed to get away to safety. Sonic and Tails were off to destroy Eggman Factory when this happened, and there was no time to get back in time to save them. They managed to destroy the factory while there was no security.
"Tails, where is everyone because this is way too easy?"
says Sonic.
"I don't know, but I think this is a distraction so Eggman can get away with his evil plan,"
says Tails.
"You got it, Tails. Let's head back to Knothole and see what's happening down there."
They were trying to back as fast as possible to the village, and Sonic was carrying Tails so they could get there quicker. Tails went down on Sonic and grabbed his package. Tails slowly caressed his hand around his member and started playing with it. When this happened, Sonic stopped as quickly as possible because his mind was on what his best friend was doing. This is the first time this has ever happened to him. Sonic lied on the ground while watching what his best friend was doing. Tails, they turned around and stuck his penis right in front of his best friend's face. Sonic grabbed his best friend member and started playing with it and started jerking him off. He looked down at his friend, and he was sucking up and down his cock. He took his mouth off Sonic cock and told his to suck it bitch. He then went back to work on Sonic cock. Sonic then started slowly sucking his cock and enjoyed it very much, and forgot all about the trouble in the world. Sonic and Tails both cummed in my shitty fucking god, this is horrible. Sonic and Tails both cummed into each other's mouth and drank it all down. Then Sonic right back to suck off Tails some, and his friend decided to do the same. This went on for another 10 min. They both got up after they cleaned the cum off each other's privates, and then cleaned off each other's face. They French kissed and went back home after Sonic told this was my first time he's ever done this sort of thing. Tails said,
"I hope you like this because there's more to come tonight at my house."
They finally got back to Knothole. When they saw robots of Eggman all over the place,
"So, this is where they were and our mission was a trap set by Eggman,"
said Sonic. Tails agreed with him, and just at the moment Sonic went at Sonic speed and destroyed all the robots in the village. Then he saw two bodies lying on the ground. On was his dad and Bunny, his other best friend, and said to him earlier, "That day is as soon as you get back, you can see me naked and have sex with me, because I finally decided how far I'm willing to take our relationship."
1 year earlier, Sonic was staying over at Bunny House for a sleepover. She was his only girlfriend for the past 5 years, and it wasn't just a sleepover as he thought it would be. Bunny invited his over for a master batting evening, and he agreed to it. Bunny explained to him that we will be master batting in front of each other, and we will be masturbating off each other. You also can go down on me, and I can go down on you. We will not have sex whatsoever. Sonic and Bunny were having so much fun, the only time they took a break was when they had to use the bathroom, and when her parents knocked on the door to see if they needed anything. Every time the head of his penis got sore, we just asked her to suck him off instead. They switched positions so he could lick her pussy. His tongue and his member were getting sore, but he didn't care. He just wanted this night to last for as long as possible. This lasted for 5 hours until he couldn't take the pain any longer. He told Bunny that he could still eat her pussy while his hand was playing with it. If you want to, and I'll just sit on your head and leave your penis alone for an hour. Bunny got up while Sonic's hand was caressing her sweet, juicy pussy that has cummed so many times on his hand and his face, and he still wanted more of it. Bunny sat down on his face and enjoyed the sweet pleasure of his tongue deep in her while she was playing with her boobs, which are a C-cup. This continued on for the next 2 hours, and then Sonic said, "My dick feels a lot better now, so you can have some more fun with it." This continued through the night until the dawn the next day, while they were both really tried from all that with their mouths still on each other privets. They both woke up around 9:30 a.m. and gave each other one last blow job before Sonic went home later that day. That was the best night he ever had with the one girl he really loved for the past 5 years, and now she dead. Sonic ran over to check his dad's body for a pulse, and there wasn't one. He then checked his girlfriend's body for a pulse and didn't feel one, and when no one was looking, he caressed her boobs and played with her pussy one last time till she cummed. Sonic went over to dig 2 graves and was crying a lot and really loudly while he was digging. The villagers looking at him and offered their help, but he kept refusing and wanted to left alone. Even Tails asked him and still said no. Tails told he'd make him feel a lot better tonight, so he forgot all his troubles for one night at least.
Sonic got the graves dug and put their body in their graves and said a prayer in privet.
I will miss both of you, the love of my life and the father who raised me to who I am today. I hope you wait for me, my love, because when I go, you're the first person I want to see.
The funeral service gathered and held a ceremony for both of them. After the service was over, Sonic started covering up the graves. He was mourning and still crying. Sonic finished in an hour, and they were completely covered in dirt. Just at that moment, it started to rain, and a thunderstorm was coming. He could hear it in the distance and ran off to Tails' house to see what he was talking about. One of the graves started to shake, and the dirt was coming off it. A hand reached up and then pulled out of the grave. The person walked up to Tails' house and knocked on the door, and Tails answered the door while Sonic was right beside him. They were both in shock to who they saw. The person came in the house and said,
Are you surprised to see me?
To be continued.
Yes, we are, but we all saw you dead, and there was a big funeral in both your honors. It was a good ceremony. I cried a lot and dug your grave because I didn't want anyone to help me. I missed you, Uncle Chuck, and I'm just wondering how you survived, and I checked your pulse. You are clearly dead, said Sonic. Now, nephew, I will tell you the tale of how I survived from Eggman onslaught, and I'm sorry about Bunny. There was no way to save her. Earlier that day, Bunny and I were enjoying each other's company while we were talking about your relationship with each other, and she told me about the surprise that you were going to get when you came back. About an hour you two left, I heard some rizzling in the bushes, and me and Bunny checked it out. We heard Eggman talking with Snively about as soon as they were done with this village, they were going to attack the city of Pounce Field. They sent a spy to St. Lovejoy's school, and that spy is staying there with a family and is acting completely normal, or as normal as that school can be. We then called them to enroll you into the school, Sonic, and your parents wouldn't let us enroll you there, Tails, because you're way too smart for any school out there. About half an hour after that, they came and attacked the village. The only reason we didn't do anything about it when we saw him was because we thought you two would be back before any of this would happen. We tried to hold them off, but Bunny didn't survive, and I deactivated myself. Ever since Eggman roboticized me and you helped me out from freeing me from his grasp, I've learned that I could just deactivate myself for a while, and then I would automatically reactivate myself many hours later. I hope that answers your question and learned some info that will be helpful to you latter, son. You have to in Pounds Field in 2.5 weeks. Your uniform will be coming in 2 days and have some other clothes to wear when outside of school there. They have a law there that you have to clothes on instead of just underwear and other garments that the women have to wear. Huh? While I'm waiting, Uncle, I'm going to see if anyone in Eggman hideout. Sonic stays there for the night while they celebrate that his dad alive. Even the whole time they were celebrating, Tails just thinking about Sonic Cock and how he wanted to have sex with him. The next day, Sonic rushes out the door after saying goodbye to his uncle and his best friend Tails. He rushed off to Eggman Hideout and saw a knot attached to the front door of Eggman Factory and said, "We are currently out right now. We hope you come back sometime soon. The renovations will continue until the winter, so please come back then. From the loving Dr. Eggman." Aw. Sonic then opened the door and saw the place dead. There was nothing there at all. He checked the whole place and there was nothing there at all. He then went home and told them that Eggman wasn't anywhere to be found and was going to search the whole forest until he does. The next day and half was spent exploring the whole forest and didn't see or hear anything about Eggman. Sonic went back home to his uncle's place and told him he nowhere to be seen. The rest of the day was spent of finishing up unfinished business and didn't want to forget about with Tails and some of the other villagers. It turned out they just wanted to suck his cock or let him bang them.
Sonic then went to Tails' house and asked him what he was talking about. They went into Tails' room, and Tails bent over and said,
"I've always wanted you to stick your massive cock inside me and come inside my butt. You sure you want me to do that? Because I don't feel comfortable with this. It would completely destroy our relationship we've had for years. I really want this, man, and I'll completely value our relationship after you do this to me."
Sonic understands why Tails wants this so bad because they won't see each other for a while. Sonic found he enjoyed giving butt sex to him and asked his friend to do the same thing. Tails also enjoyed screwing his best friend in the ass and come inside him. They said their final goodbyes to each other. Sonic went back to his uncle's place and the school uniform arrived, and there was extra clothes for him to wear outside of school. His uncle also gave him a back card with Sonic's name on it.
I've been putting money every month since the day you were born until my hot dog stand became no more, thanks to Eggman. It contains over $500,000 on it, so use it on school stuff and food. That it, or I'm going to come over there and hit you in the balls so hard and repeatedly for about 10 times in a row at your school. I get your point, Uncle, and I want to use it for school stuff and food.
The three of them sit on the couch and start jerking off. Sonic hands Tails and his uncle one of the open beer bottles. Sonic picks one up too. "Cheers!" they all say in unison. They all took a huge chug, and it took a couple of minutes to swallow it. "That tastes like urine," says Tails. "I think you're right," says Sonic. "You did tell us about those new laws yesterday," says Uncle Chuck. The three of them decided to have a pee party. Sonic hands his uncle and Tails a nice full bottle of pee. "Cheers!" they say in unison. They start to drink the first one slowly. They have their eyes closed, trying to get used to the taste. After a couple of minutes, they start to enjoy the taste. After drinking a couple of bottles, they all have to pee. "Hey, I got an idea," says Tails. "What is it?" asks Sonic. "Why don't we pee in the bottles and hand them off to someone? Or we could pee in each other's mouths," says Tails. "Sounds good, let's do it, and Tails, move your face to my dick because I gotta pee," says Sonic. "All right, I will," says Tails with a grin on his face. Tails moves his body and bends down in front of Sonic. Tails has a beer bottle in his hand, and lines it up with his dick. Tails opens his mouth to let Sonic Golden Fountain go into him. Sonic starts peeing at Tails. Sonic teases him by peeing at his face, and then finally pees right in Tailless' mouth. While this was going on, Tails pees right in the beer bottle and fills the whole bottle up. After they finished peeing, Tails gets up and hands the beer bottle to Sonic. "I want you to drink this," says Tails. "Alright, since I peed on you and in your mouth," says Sonic. Sonic drinks the whole bottle, while Tails stares at him, licking his lips. The pee party continues on for a couple more hours, till all the bottles were empty.
Sonic in Search for Love. Chapter 3.
Sonic heads out of the village and onwards towards Pouncefield, where the school St. Lovejoy's is. Sonic hopes to find the spy that lives there and hopes to find love again. Sonic has a soft spot in his heart for Tails and Bunny, which is held deep inside him. Sonic walks in the lush green forest to see if he can Eggman on his way on his way over to the floating island. Sonic goes to see if Knuckles is home, who lives on the floating island. The island hovers over an ocean. Sonic wants to see if Knuckles knew anything about what Eggman was up to and who this spy is. Knuckles is a echidna of the last of his kind until he travelled back in time to save the rest of his race. Knuckles is guardian of the Master Emerald, and it is his sole duty to protect it. Once the Emerald is stolen, the island will fall to earth and cause a huge tidal wave and destroy most of the forest along with Knothole Village, which I assume is in the forest.
Today of all days, Knuckles is not protecting the Master Emerald, and I wonder where he's off to,
says Sonic to himself. Sonic takes a quick look around to see if he can see Knuckles. After no success, Sonic jets off at Sonic speed around the island and still can't find his anywhere at all.
I wonder where he is, because someone could have taken the Master Emerald without him even knowing. He might be off with Rouge, who is Knuckles' next slave, or he got kidnapped by Eggman again, says Sonic to himself. Right before I leave this island for the first time, I'm going to look at the Emerald one last time, says Sonic to himself. After sitting there for 10 minutes pondering on all that has happened and what Eggman has planned this time around, Sonic enjoys jerking off, and he comes on the Master Emerald. He gets off on gemstones, I assume. If Eggman in charge of St. Lovejoy's by now, think of the children and what strict punishment they're being put through, says Sonic to himself.
Sonic gets up and takes one last look at the Emerald and the island. Sonic decides to lick his own cum off the Emerald.
I'm curious what my own cum tastes like,
says Sonic to himself. Sonic spits his own cum right out of his mouth after putting it in his mouth. Sonic realizes he shouldn't ever do that again. You hear that? No. Tasting your own? No. Bad thing to do. Sonic doesn't like it, so you shouldn't like it. That's your public service announcement. Now continue masturbating.
When out of nowhere, the emerald gets stolen right in front of my eyes and didn't see anyone take it. The island starts to shake and starting to head down to the ocean right underneath the island. Sonic just grabs onto the closest tree just when the island comes crashing down into the ocean. There is a huge tidal wave heading toward the village, and there's nothing I can do to stop it.
There is a huge tidal wave heading toward the village, and there's nothing I can do to stop it. I just hope everyone gets out of there okay. I wish we didn't seal the underground shelter to protect us against something like this happening.
Meanwhile, back at Knothole Village, Tails was sitting in his room masturbating, while thinking about Sonic and his big juicy cock. Just then, there a knock on the door and Uncle Chuck lets himself in. Tails comes onto Chuck's face and apologizes for it. Uncle Chuck licks the juicy cum off his face and made sure he got it all.
Don't worry about it. I've walked in on my nephew just when he did the same thing as you did. He also started masturbating right in front of me sometimes, which to this day I don't know why. The reason I came in here is we got to evacuate the village because there's a huge tidal wave heading right for us.
Chuck and Tails run out of the house and warn everyone to evacuate the village because of the tidal wave coming towards them. There a lot of panic of screaming and everyone tripping over each other. During this whole time, Tails and Chuck get away safely. They find the tallest hill and go to it as quickly as possible. They climb up the hill just in time to see the tidal wave hit the village. The tidal wave hits with a harsh force, and takes the villagers by storm. The houses get destroyed, their pieces of wood, tress, split in two, and all the villagers get horribly killed by such great force. The tidal wave continues to head deeper into the forest, to where Chuck and Tails are standing. It gets to the hill and climbs up. The water settles off right at the top of the hill. They're relived to still be alive after all that, but they're one small problem. They couldn't go anywhere because as far as the eye, they were surrounded by water. They both had the exact same idea. The only thing they could do was have sex. They both thought Sonic was dead, and there was no way he could survive this. They started getting freaky with each other, and were trying some weird experimental sex acts. Back on the floating island, that is not floating anymore, Sonic regains his balance and tries not to lose his lunch, but does. The ground continued to shake and a passageway begins to open right where the emerald was. The tunnel was dark and has ancient writing on it that he couldn't understand. Sonic goes into the tunnel to see where it leads when the door behind him shuts tight. After using sonic speed to get to the bottom of the tunnel, he sees an airplane. The plane was painted dark blue with a gold ring design on both sides, and it also had the word Sonic on the wings. Sonic takes a couple of minutes to admire the plane. He hopes into the cockpit and sees a note. Dear Sonic, my love, I've had adore you for such a long time. I've never worked up the courage to talk to you. I made this plane for you. I hope you like it. And we can meet up some because I miss you. I'll be seeing you at school in Pounce Field. From your love. Sonic starts up the plane, and a hatch opens so he can take off. The plane takes off without any problems. Sonic looks down at the forest and sees it's not there anymore, and off in the distance Sonic doesn't see the village anymore.
I failed them all. I swore I would protect they all, but I failed. I'll miss you all, my friends. And Uncle Chuck. I'll get you, Eggman, for what you've done, and this time I'm gonna kill you. You've pushed me too far, and now you'll see what I'm like when I'm really ticked off. I'm going to head to Pounce Field and find this spy and make sure he or she tells me where you are.
Sonic sets his eyes on Pounce Field and hopes he is going in the right direction. The sun begins to set and the stars begin to come out in the night sky. Sonic grieves for all of them and wonders what next going to happen on the journey to Pounce Field.
Just before the tidal wave hit the kingdom. Sir, there's a tidal wave heading right for us, and I put up a shield so the water won't come in here. I've also judged the amount of water there is shouldn't be all gone in time for Sally to leave for Pounce Field, says Roy. The tidal wave hits the shield and makes the kingdom shake, and the shield still holds up. A lot of breakable things fall over and get destroyed into millions of pieces. The cleaning crews already start sweeping it up.
Roy, I needed to check on my daughter and she's in her room masturbating. If you feel the need to touch my daughter or whatnot, I grant you permission to you that you can get a blowjob from her,
said King April. Roy goes to Sally's door and knocks, but there's no answer. Roy breaks the door down and sees Sally lying there on her bed in the nude. There was glass covering the floor. Roy calls a cleaning crew over to Sally's room to clean up all the glass. 30 minutes later in Sally's room. I see you're not hurt from that ordeal. Your father told me that you would suck my cock if I came here and help you in any way, says Roy.
I understand, since you did help me by getting a cleaning crew to pick up the glass. I want to stick my chair upside down and have my pussy going up and down on it. It would give my hand a break, and I want to lick all the cum off my arm, says Sally.
Roy takes off his pants and underwear. Sally licks her lips and takes Roy cock into her mouth. Sally sucks on it nice and slowly for 10 minutes. Roy blows his load in Sally's mouth.
That was fun, but I want more,
says Sally. Sorry, but I can't because of your father. I like to have your father on my good side, and that's all I desire. Goodbye, Sally, and have fun with that chair, says Roy. Roy walks out of the room and tells Sally's father that she's fine, but doesn't mention anything about the blowjob. Sally goes on and has sex with her chair. Sally licks the cum off her arms and realizes how badly her hand smells.
I'll just stay in this position until I have to leave for Pounce Field,
says Sally to herself. Chapter 4. Sonic was on his way across the huge ocean that has covered most of Mobotropolis. The only thing Sonic could see were hills and two people doing it. Sonic didn't want to go down and disturb them. He has an important mission that he has to do. Sonic continues to fly off toward Pouncefield. Because Sonic can fly. I don't know. Hey Chuck, is that a plane up there? says Tails.
Yeah, it is. I'm going to sing it by screwing you even harder, says Uncle Chuck.
Let's hope it work, says Tails. Uncle Chuck thrust into Tails' ass, even harder than before. The plane continues on its flight. Oh, he's in a plane. Oh, okay. The plane continues on its flight to wherever it's going. Uncle Chuck sees a radio go by in the river and decides to pick it up. Uncle Chuck decides to stop screwing Tails for a moment. The radio surprising still works, even after all the water in it. Oh, sorry.
The radio surprising still works, even after all the water it'd been in,
says Chuck. A message came on the radio. This is an emergency broadcast from the castle, and we'd like to inform you that we've all survived. This is terminal. We'd like to take this time and grieve for all of those people who have lost their lives in this disaster. Let's take a moment to remember all of those who lost their lives, say Antoine. 2 minutes later. We like to play a song for all you women, gays and bi out there. It's called Fuck Him Gently. I hope all of you like it, and by the band Tenacious G. The song starts playing and those two go back to to screwing. This one for all the guys out there who want to make love to their boyfriend as much as possible. Oh my good Christ, no! Not the D! Here we go. The song keeps going on for 5 more minutes. Well, I hope you all like that one. We got another one right round the corner for all the straight couples out there. The band Hot and called Tenacious D. Their song, Fuck Her Gently, we will have up after the commercial break. Before we go there, I have some late breaking news for you. Tenacious D is suing Tenacious G for copied likeness to their name and songs. This could mean Tenacious G will be no more once the sue goes through. We'll be right back, says Antoine. Oh God, why am I doing this to myself? I have work to do. Jesus fucking Christ. Okay. Uncle Chuck troughs the radio back into the ocean because he doesn't want to hear the straight version of that song. Chuck, after hearing that song, it made me hornier than ever. I also want to do everything it said in that song, says Tails. Those two go back to it and does everything in that song 5 times over. Back at the place in Sally's room, Sally, alone in her room, is still playing with herself, she now using her other hand. Ah, damn it, I'm stuck on this chair and I can't get my pussy unstuck from it no matter what. I've tried playing with it some more, but I keep going farther down on this chair and it's starting to get painful. Maybe if I fall over I can yank myself off, says Sally. After a couple of tries, the chair falls over. A loud crash occurred and can be heard from outside her room, but no one was there this time. Sally sent away the guards after the last accident so she could be left alone for the rest of the time. After the chair fell on the floor, it went further up Sally's pussy. Sally screams in pain and yells at the top of her lungs, but no one came. I must force my way to the throne room and tell my father what has happened. It's going to be so embarrassing for me when people see me like this, says Sally to herself. Sally forces her way to the door and turns out the chair won't fit through the door. Sally tries to pull the chair out with the door help, and it wouldn't bug. Sally then remembers there is a saw in her room that she left under her pink desk. Sally struggles back to her desk and sees the saw on the floor. Sally grabs the saw and turns on the thing. It made this humming noise and started spinning in a circle. The saw turns to be a vibrator in disguise. What a saw? Sally remembered Sonic got it for her. It was her 14th birthday party, and the first day they fooled around. God, he's a paedophile too. If only I knew what it was Sorry. If only I knew what it was before, I would have used it multiple times every time I was thinking of him, says Sally. Sally went and looked everywhere else in her room, and she finds 20 more vibrators that Sonic gave her. There was still nothing in this room that would help her from getting out of this situation. Earlier that day, Dr. Quack was on his way to the place for King Acorn weekly full-body exam. He saw Sonic run past, and it looked like he was in a hurry to go somewhere. He saw Sonic wearing a backpack and was wondering what it was for. Dr. Quack checked his watch and realized he was late for King Acorn appointment. He rushed off to the place but stopped for a minute. He hears some purring from the other side of the bushes. He looked over and saw the triplet sisters playing with themselves again. Dr. Quack stops and stares at them for 5 minutes, not a second more, and realizes he's going to later than he already is if he stays there any longer. He takes one last look at them, having one hand on their boobs and one hand playing with their pussy. Dr. Quack runs as fast as he can to the place and hopes His Majesty is not in a bad mood for him being late. Dr. Quack rushes into the throne room and checks his watch. He was 45 min late for the king appointment. He takes a look in the room and sees the king not there. Dr. Quack notices a guard in the room and decides to ask him about the king. "You over there, I need you. Where's the king? Because I'm here for this schedule appointment for the week," asked Dr. Quack. "The king in his room down the hall, second door on the right. The king also said if you were truly the doctor and not some phony, you would go down on all fours and suck his dick. You would also do what? If you are the real one, you do it now," said the guard. Dr. Quack only told the king about it, but how does the guard know of it? "I got to do what I got to do in order to examine the king." Dr. Quack unzips the guard's pants and pulls down his underwear. He takes a close examination of the guard's cock and realizes it's bigger than the king's. Dr. Quack takes his time slowly sucking the guard's cock and wants this moment to last for as long as possible. The card comes into the Dr. Quack mouth. Dr. Quack swishes it around his mouth and spits it out. "I'm sorry, lad, but you only have 2 hours left to live. Do what you always want to do in the next 2 hours left to live." "What your name of the man who cock I sucked?" said Dr. Quack. "My name Roy, sir, and that my first blowjob I've ever gotten. I've also gotten a twin brother named Roy also. I'm going to screw Sally right now because I've wanted to do that since I seen her," says Roy. Roy runs off to Sally's room to screw her. Dr. Quack hurries off to King Acorn's room and opens the door. He sees the king in the nude playing with himself.
"I see you've finally got here, good doctor. I've already gotten undressed and started jerking off for you. I suggest you start sucking it now, because I'm going to blow soon," says the king. Dr. Quack bends down and puts his mouth on the king dick. He starts sucking the king's cock, and the king comes into his mouth. Dr. Quack swishes it around his mouth and swallows it all down. "You're healthy as you can be, your majesty. By the taste of your cum, you've gotten another 30 years left. Now, flip around because I have to examine your ass for my examination to be complete." The king flips round and has his ass sticking out in the air. "Your ass looks very good, your majesty. I'm going to have a closer look to make sure it's set. To make sure," says Dr. Quack. Dr. Quack sticks his face right in there and takes a good, solid lick of the king ass. "Your ass tastes like chocolate, your majesty. Is it all right if I lick it some more?" says Dr. Quack. "Please do, if only if only for my physical body is yours. Do whatever you want to do to it when you examine me,"
says King Acorn. "Thank you, your majesty. I will do what you command," says Dr. Quack. Dr. Quack continues to lick his ass for 10 more minutes. "Your ass is very healthy. I shall see you next week for how your endurance to pain is. I would have did it today, but I left my tools at the office," says Dr. Quack.
"Thanks for the examination. I shall be looking forward to next week,"
says King Acorn. Dr. Quack helps the king get dressed. They both head out of the room. The king heads off to the throne room and Dr. Quack heads off to see his next patient. Dr. Quack heads out the door and sees a tidal wave heading right for him and immediately runs back into the castle. The aftermath of the tidal wave inside the place. Dr. Quack goes into the throne room and sees the king in a panic. "What's wrong, your majesty? Is there something I can do?" asks Dr. Quack.
Yes, there is. Can you go check on my daughter Sally? I haven't seen her in a while and she didn't show up for dinner,
says King Acorn. "Of course I can, and I had an appointment with her tomorrow, so I might as well do it now while I'm here," says Dr. Quack. Dr. Quack heads off to Sally's room and manages to find it no problem. "I hope she's still in the same room, considering every time I come we just have sex and that's all." "And that's all," Dr. Quack mutters to himself. Dr. Quack gets to Sally's room and sees Sally Pussy stuck on the leg of the chair and has slid down 3/4 of the way. He sees Sally in tears, her pussy all wet, very perky breast and cum all over the place. He thought this would be the best time to get a blowjob, since he gave 2 today. He closes the door behind him and undresses very quickly. Dr. Quack goes into the push-up position and his cock lined up with Sally's mouth. Dr. Quack goes down and Sally opens her mouth while she in tears. Dr. Quack cock goes into Sally's mouth and sucks it slowly because if she moves too much the pain will get much worse. After 30 minutes of push-ups he finally comes in Sally's mouth. Dr. Quack gets his clothes back on and takes a closer look on how to get the chair out of Sally Pussy. I don't want to know why you did this, but I got to figure out how to get it unstuck. This is going to take some time, so you must remain calm. Cheer up, it'll soon be over, one way or another, says Dr. Quack. Dr. Quack plays with Sally boobs and then remembers he has a book that's called How to Remove Weird Things That Get Stuck in Women's Pussies. Dr. Quack leaves the room and heads to the library to find the book. He left it there by accident from the last time Sally got a candle stuck in there. I had to light the candle and we had her in the throne room so everyone could see Sally Candle Pussy. You could smell burnt pussy for... Oh, God. You could smell burnt pussy for days, but it taught her a lesson all right, says Dr. Quack. Here's the book I'm looking for, says Dr. Quack. Dr. Quack headed back to Sally's room with book in hand. Dr. Quack enters the room and sees Sally lying in the exact same position on the floor. He sits right next to Sally with one hand on her boobs and one hand holding the book open. This is going to be longer than I thought, so be patient after I help you out this time. I want to do whatever I felt like to you. Deal? Says Dr. Quack. Deal, and I'm going to Pounceville soon, says Sally. Edward was in complete shock and scared of what just happened.
I'm pretty shocked at what you did. I'm going to stay here and stay with you,
says Edward. Fine, but I'll do it again eventually, and even have my way with you completely one of these days, Brazil, says Edna. Edna walks out of Edward's room very slowly. She is doing a slowly sexy walk while rubbing her body all over with her hands. Just before she leaves, Edna bends over and slaps her own ass. Whoa. Edna then crawls out on all fours and heads to her room. Back at the place in Sally's room. I figured it out. I have a way to remove the chair leg from your pussy. Let me get a saw and a drill first, says Dr. Quack. Dr. Quack leaves Sally's room and heads to the supply room in the basement of the castle. The room was very dusty and hadn't been used for years. There were tools all over the place, and some of them were very rusty. Dr. Quack finds one saw that was still in not that bad of a shape, quite easy. He couldn't find a drill. 3 hours later. I've cleaned the whole place and put everything away where it's supposed to go. I still couldn't find a drill, says Dr. Quack to himself. Then he looks underneath one of the cabinets and finally finds a drill with the bit still in it. That was lucky. Now I can go back and help Sally. The only thing she doesn't know is that once I remove it, she'll never be able to have children, Dr. Quack says to himself. Dr. Quack heads off to Sally's room in order to perform the operation. He enters the room with the tools in hand and heads towards Sally. I'm going to need you to stay very quiet and still when I do this. If you move at all, you could die from internal bleeding, says Dr. Quack. Sally nods her head. Dr. Quack grabs the saw with his left hand and has right on Sally pussy to hold her still. The Dr. Quack then proceeds to cut at the leg of the chair very carefully so he doesn't cut the princess's legs. He also wants to touch that pussy for as long as possible. The armchair breaks off very easily after 45 minutes of cutting through it. Now, Sally, spread your legs open as far as possible. I'm going to have to use the drill now. The drill going to go through the center of the chair leg and right into your pussy. Sally spreads her legs as far as possible. Before I forget, tell me if the pain gets too unbearable and we'll take a break for you, says Dr. Quack. Dr. Quack starts up the drill and aims for the centerpiece of wood. The drill hits the wood and is going through pretty easily. The wood starts to break up and splits up into a whole lot of pieces. Sally's eyes are completely watery and her face is bright red. Dr. Quack cleans off Sally's eyes. We're going to take a small break for a couple of minutes and stand up and see if any other wood can come out now, says Dr. Quack. Sally stands up and all the wood starts falling out of her pussy very slowly. Thank you, Doctor, and now I will return my promises I made to you before you started the procedure, says Sally. I can't right now, because if anything goes into your pussy for the next month, you will die from internal bleeding. You also can't have any children in the future because of what you did to your pussy, says Dr. Quack. I understand, Doctor. For now I'll just act like a normal lady, says Sally. Sally and Dr. Quack leave her room and head off throne room to see her father. Your Majesty, may I present Sally, the constant masturbator, and Dr. Quack, the quacked doctor alive, says the jouster. Everyone laughs in the throne room except the king, Sally and Dr. Quack.
Traitor, if you're not, you will be all thrown in jail for a week with harsh punishment,
says King Acorn. The whole room becomes quiet very quickly, so quiet that you could hear a penny drop. All three of them gather close together and talk about what happened in Sally Rome and what will be done for Sally in Pouncefield.
I've managed to call in a favour with a friend I know that lives here. He is married and has a son and daughter. Their son named Edward and their daughter named Edna. She's going to be staying in Edna Room so the girls can have their fun. I've also heard she's a lot like you, so you two have a lot in common,
says King Acorn. Back in Pouncefield.
Edward was sitting in his room, retyping his project out again, which he remembers to save every 30 minutes, just in case if it happened again. Edward got a boner for some reason, and he wasn't thinking about Laura at all. He was just really aggravated that he had to retype the whole thing again. Yes. Edna was sitting in her room and thinking of her brother cock she just sucked 4 hours ago and wants some more of it. Her pussy got really moist just thinking about it. Edna then was trying to decide on how to get her brother to go all the way with her. There was a knock on the door, and Edward comes downstairs to answer it. Laura was at the door wearing a silk pink dress that came to her knees, and a V-neck cut that showed off a little cleavage. She was also wearing black leather boots. "Hi, big boy, I'm so looking forward to our date tonight," says Laura.
Hi, Laura. You look as sexy as ever. You look extremely gorgeous in what you're wearing tonight. I love you, Laura. Let me give you a big kiss.
Edward bends in to give Laura a kiss, and Edna pushes her out of the way to receive it. Edward opens his eyes and sees Edna instead of Laura in front of him.
You dirty little prostitute. Go see one of your friends and let me enjoy my night with Laura,
says Edward.
Why do you have to say that to your sister? She only shows you how much she loves you,
says Laura.
Laura, you see she plays with herself in front of me, turned the power out, and sucks my cock. That's what she did today. I'm not going to go into what else she's done in front of me.
says Edward.
I see and I understand why you're mad at your sister right now. I'm gonna show you how much I like your sister right now,
says Laura. Laura gives a French kiss to Edna that lasted for 30 seconds. Yes, a full 30 seconds of tongues slipping and sliding across each other in an erotic embrace, not unlike two slugs mating on top of a cooler. Edward stood there in shock while this was going on.
I'll go farther with you later, but first let me enjoy my date with your brother,
says Laura. Edward and Laura head out to East Side Mario's and decide to eat outside if the weather stays nice for the date. They get to East Side's, and the wait will be 15 minutes before they could get a table outside. They decide to wait because they want a romantic evening underneath the stars. Back on the hill where Tails and Uncle Chuck are.
Uncle Chuck, can you stop hammering my ass? 'Cause no one coming to save us, and if you don't throw out the radio, we would hear reports of what's going on, and if there's such a rescue party looking for survivors, says Tails.
All right, you big stud, because I need a break. It's starting to get sore. Let's stop for the night and try again tomorrow,
says Uncle Chuck. They try for the next week and a half, but no one shows up. The next day, they decide not to have sex and sit there and talk. They got to know each other a lot better and told embarrassing secrets about Sonic. That night, a boat comes by and picks them up.
Thank you for the rescue. We've been out here for over a week and a half. The only way we've survived is by eating each other's poop and drinking each other's pee, says Tails.
Can I know the name of the guy who rescued us?
says Uncle Chuck. The guy was a blue fat cat and had a fishing pole in the boat.
My name's Big, and have you seen Frog Eye? I lost him again,
says Big. They both shook their heads and thought this guy was really strange.
We've lost my nephew and his best friend due to the tidal wave, and we'll help you find Frog Eye. If he was alive right now, this would be his first day of school,
says Uncle Chuck.
A week ago in the palace, Sally says goodbye to everyone in the place and gives a blowjob to everyone except her dad. Sally heads down to the underground shuttle that heads off to Pouncefield. The tunnel was dark and had a string of lights on one side of the wall. The trip took 4 hours to get to Pouncefield, in which time Sally took a nap on the way there. Sally steps off the train and sees two foxes standing there, and the boy had a sign that said Sally on it. Hi, I'm Edna, and this is my brother Edward. You will be staying with us, and it turns out you know my brother classes, says Edna. Edward blushes and has a grin on his face. Thank you both of you for all your kindness and for letting me stay with you, says Sally. Who will I be staying with while I'm here? Asked Sally. You will be staying here with me, and don't worry, I won't beat. There's also enough room on my bed for the two of us, says Edna. Just so you know, my sister is says Edward. Edna covered his mouth right before he said it. I wonder what she is. What was that you were going to say? Says Sally. He was going to say my sister is a pretty little girl. We girl are going to get along real well, aren't we, Sally girl? Says Edna. We sure are, and just so you know I can't touch, play, or have sex with my pussy for the next 3.5 weeks, says Sally. Sally goes into explaining why she can't do any of that. Edna was licking her lips and her panties were getting wet. She also had her own hand down her skirt and just thinking about a chair leg in her pussy. Edward has a boner that's sticking out that you could see because he had a tight pair of shorts on. He was thinking about how much girl enjoys sex. Sally noticed what they were doing and stopped talking. Her eyes caught the side of Edward's boner and she wanted to suck it off right there. Sally decided against it because his sister was right there. Edward and Edna explain about all the weird stuff that has happened to them. They met a blue hedgehog named Sonic, and they saw Eggman, their new principal. After all that, they headed back to their place. This would be Sally's new home for the whole school year. This would be the only time she could really tell Sonic how she felt about him, about those laws in place. Ooh. Oh, sorry. Sally hopes to tell him soon, because it's killing her inside. Oh, the first day of school came at St. Lovejoy's. This would be the Sally first step of many to find Sonic and tell him how she feels about him. She keeps imagining she sees Sonic everywhere. Sally heads off to the girls' bathroom and sees Edward get a blowjob from a girl who's sitting on the toilet. Edward's shocked to see her in here and loses his erection. Let me help you get it back! Sally and the squirrel help Edward get a really good blowjob. Sally walks out and Edward and the squirrel stay behind. She finally sees Sonic, but he is talking to a girl that's a chipmunk and her name is Irina. Sally goes up to Sonic and punches him right in the face and walks away. Sonic dazed by the whole thing. And Irina stays and helps him. Sally decides to bank the woman bathroom and have some more fun with Edward cock in her mouth and lick any woman pussy that comes in the bathroom. To be continued. Part 5 is going to be what happened to Sonic in all that time. I hope you like this chapter that took 9.5 pages to write. I'd like to hear what you think of all this. I hope you will really finally understand why I had this in the school days thread. School days thread? I don't know. This guy is severely broken.
Chapter 5. The Misadventures of Sonic. Sonic hovers over the couple for a couple of minutes to see if he could recognize them, but he couldn't make anything out because they were just a blur. Sonic heads off after seeing two people screw ever harder and faster than they were before. Sonic heads west on his way to Pounce Field to start his first day of school, and so he can capture the spy that was sent there by Eggman. He comes across the city after 2 hours into his trip. Sonic decides to land his plane in the forest nearby to avoid detection so his cover can't be blown up in his face. Sonic decides to leave the plane and go into the forest after he changes into some clothes. Sonic finds a black pair of jeans and a tie-dye shirt underneath his seat. Sonic puts them on, and now no one will recognize him. Sonic hops out of the plane and takes a look around him. Sonic walks through the lush green forest and doesn't see anyone around. He sees a black hedgehog sleeping against a tree.
Hi, Shadow! Haven't seen you in a while. What have you been up to?
Asks Sonic. The hedgehog wakes up and slowly gets up from where he was sitting. The hedgehog turns around and looks directly at Sonic.
My name is Frostget, but my friends call me Frost. What's your name, friend? Asks Frost.
My name's Sonic the Hedgehog, but everyone calls me Sonic,
says Sonic. With their introduction, Sonic realizes he's made a great mistake, that he wasn't a hedgehog. The cat has a sword, a black and blue shirt, and pants on. Sonic also thought this guy was going to kill him and was an assassination from Dr. Eggman.
What are you doing out here in this forest? Asks Frost.
I'm on my way to the city in order to stop the evil Dr. Eggman and his spy from ruining people's lives. What are you doing out here in this forest?
Asks Sonic.
I'm here to join the band of freedom fighters out here because I can really help them out a lot. You want to come with me? Asks Frost.
No, thank you, man. I'm a freedom fighter, and I just lost everyone close to me because of a huge tidal wave that killed everyone I know,
says Sonic.
I'm sorry for you loss, and I hope you get the bastard who did this to you. Good luck on your mission, friend, says Frost.
You too with those freedom fighters,
says Sonic. They both head off in opposite directions. Frost heads towards the Freedom Fighter hideout, and Sonic heads towards the city. After a half an hour of walking towards the city, he's finally get there to begin his first day of school and to find the spy that works for Dr. Eggman. Sonic takes a walk around town and sees two brown bunnies heading off to the western sector of town. There was on male and female, but the female looks like a cross-dresser. Sonic thought there was something wrong with them the way they were holding hands. Sonic heads farther into the city and sees a cute white bunny with red hair wearing a purple dress. Sonic walks up to the bunny.
Ah, I'm Sonic! I'm just wondering if this is Pound's Field, and if it isn't, can you tell me how to get there?
Asks Sonic. The bunny doesn't respond for 10 minutes and has this dumbfounded look on her face.
I'm sorry. What was your question? I wasn't paying attention,
says the bunny.
Ah, I'm Sonic! I'm just wondering if this is Pound's Field, and if it isn't, can you tell me how to get there?
Asks Sonic again.
I'm Connie, and you're not in the right town. This is Zephyr. You still have a 6-hour trip to get there by plane. If you head southwest from here, you should be able to get there, no problem, says Connie. Thank you, Connie, for your help, and I don't want to be late, says Sonic. No problem. You're the second person to ask me the same question this month. I just can't remember the person's name. I would like to help you more, but I'm sorry, says Connie. All right, you're helping quite enough, and I know now how far I'm behind this person I'm looking for, says Sonic. Goodbye, Sonic, and good luck to you, says Connie. Goodbye, Connie, and thank you again for your help, says Sonic. Meanwhile, back at the plane.
When this guy gets back, I want to make sure he doesn't make it where he going. I got paid big time for this one by some guy calling himself the One. Or at least I think it was a guy. I don't think that was his or her real name. He or she told me to cut the fuel line and destroy the landing gear, Chip says to himself.
Back in Zephyr.
Sonic heads out of Zephyr and back into the forest towards the plain. Sonic hears some rustling in the bushes. Sonic heads over in the direction of the noise and sees what's going on. He sees Frost and this woman talking. Sonic hears that she is part of the Freedom Fighters. Sonic leaves them alone and heads back to his plane.
Meanwhile, back at the plane. Again.
I've destroyed the landing, and I'm staring to cut the fuel line. I hear someone coming, so I better stop, Chip says to himself.
Chip sits down in front of the plane just in time to see a blue hedgehog arriving. Sonic gets to the plane and sees a chipmunk sitting beside his plane. He wearing a hat and has a coat on.
Can I help you?
Asks Sonic.
No, I'm waiting for my friends, and this is my plane. I'm going to beat you up if you even come near me. I'm Chip, and this is what you get for making me get up, says Chip. Chip gets up and kicks Sonic in the foot.
Well, sorry, but this is my plane, and I'm going to have to take it back,
says Sonic. Sonic picks up Chip and looks him directly in the eyes.
You understand me, don't ya?
Says Sonic. Sonic has his right hand ready to flick Chip in the balls.
Yes, you can have the plane, but just don't hit me in the balls and put me down, says Chip.
I'm glad we have an understanding, so I'm gonna leave you alone and don't ever touch my plane again. You got that?
Says Sonic.
Yes, whatever you say, says Chip.
Sonic puts Chip down on the ground and runs off to look for the rest of his friends. Sonic hopes back into the plane and takes off in the right direction this time. After 10 minutes after taking off, the landing gear falls off the plane.
It must have been the damn chipmunk. I'm gonna get him the next time I see him,
Sonic says to himself.
5 hours and 45 minutes later. Ah, damn it! All the fuel is leaking out of the plane. So much not for being detected by anyone, and I hope no one sees the plane land. I'm going to crash, Sonic says to himself. The city right below him, and he has to land somewhere, because he knows he won't get out of the city in time. Meanwhile, at East Side Mario's, I'm Roder, your waiter tonight. Your table is ready. I hope you two enjoy a lovely dinner out of the patio, says Roder. Roder takes them outside and shows them to their table. I hope you enjoy your meal. I'll be right back for your drinks and here will be 2 menus, says Rotor. Edward and Laura stare into each other's eyes and look up at the stars and see a plane coming down at incredible speed. They get up out of their chairs and move out of the way very quickly. They hope the plane doesn't land near them to interfere with their romantic evening. Back on the plane. Good, they moved out of the way. I've lost control of the plane, and I can't get out of this noise dive. I hope I survive this, says Sonic. Sonic crashes the plane right where Edward and Laura were sitting. The plane slides for a couple more feet and comes to a stop right in front of Edward. Edward faints right when the plane comes to a stop, and Laura manages to wake him up 10 minutes later. Sonic gets out of the plane and sees it there okay. Hi, I'm Sonic the Hedgehog, but you can just call me Sonic. I'm sorry about your dinner. Someone cut my fuel line and destroyed the landing gear. At least no one was hurt, says Sonic.
It really him, and I thought it was just a game in comics, says Edward. Edward faints again, but this time Laura doesn't help him.
I'm Laura, his girlfriend, and this is Edward, my boyfriend. I don't know why, but he keeps fatting for some reason, but I'm not quite sure why. Can you try to get him up this time?
Says Laura.
Sure, no problem, and I'll be glad to help you out, says Sonic.
Sonic pulls on Edward's fur and immediately wakes him up. Who did that and why? Asks Edward.
It was me, and because you kept fatting, for some reason, I used the only way I know how to wake people up who faint a lot, says Sonic.
Well, I'm Edward, and I thought you were a fictional character, but you are real. I know there are tons of games and comics they keep making. There are also hentai out there. At least 4 TV shows that have with you in it so far. There's even a website that has every comic that have made with you and your friends in it. You want to come back to my place tonight and meet my family? I also know my sister Edna is a big fan of yours, and she also a big tease, says Edward.
Sure, I'd love to meet your family, but I'm not sure if your girlfriend Laura will approve if I disturb your evening, says Sonic. I don't mind, and today been a little weird, so how can it get any stranger than it is?
Strange how, says Sonic.
I've met your arch-rival, Dr. Eggman, because he stopped in front of my house playing Sonic Heroes music.
It was also the worst Sonic game music ever made, and drove a Ford Geo, says Edward.
Since you landed on our table and destroyed our romantic evening, let's go back to your house, Edward. Just tell the waiter what happened, says Laura.
Sure, I'll go tell him, says Edward. Laura slaps Edward on the ass as he walks back inside to tell the waiter what happened. I can see where this is going.
Edward steps inside the restaurant and sees their waiter. Edward walks over to the waiter and explains what happened outside. Excuse me, sir, but our dinner is ruined because a plane crash landed right here where we were sitting. The lucky thing is no one got hurt and we've lost our appetite. We're going to leave and just head back home, says Edward. Rotor shakes his head in disgust.
I don't believe you, and let me go and see this,
says Rotor. Rotor and Edward head out to where the table was.
I still don't believe you.
There's nothing wrong.
There's nothing wrong with this table. It's just a little more decorative than the other tables we have here, says Rotor.
You can't see the plane? Are you blind? We're not staying here, and we're going home. If you charge us for the damages, we will sue you. You can't sue us for a plane crash. These things happened, and you can't do anything about it, says Edward. Laura and Sonic shake their heads in agreement.
I am not blind, and you cannot leave until I have something to eat. It's against our policy to let our guests leave without eating, says Rotor.
They all ignore him and head outside the restaurant. Edward calls his dad to pick them up. Sonic goes back into the restaurant and goes to where the plane crashed. Sonic looks at the plane and sees all his clothes have disappeared. Sonic heads back outside and waits for Edward, Dad, to show up. 15 minutes later. Hi, Dad, I'm glad to see you. Is it okay if Sonic and Laura spend the night? Asks Edward.
Sure, it all right. And how do you know this Sonic fellow? Asks Mr. Fox.
We just meet him, and he crash-landed his plane right near us, says Edward. Edward goes on and tells his dad about the whole incident. Edward just finishes telling his dad the whole story when they pulled up to the house. The 4 of them walk up to the house to see Edna and Miss Fox standing there with a worried look on their face. I wonder who this new guy is because he seems awfully unfamiliar. I want him to stay in my room tonight so he can have a good time.
I wonder who this new guy is because he seems awfully familiar. I want him to stay in my room tonight so we can have a good time.
Just thinking about it makes me all wet, Edna says to herself. Your date ended early tonight, And did anything happen, says Miss Fox? Edward tells the whole story again to him, Mom, and sister.
Oh, I see you're glad to stay the night, and do you have any place to stay in Pouncefield while
you're here, asks Miss Fox.
No, I don't. I was hoping to stay with one of the students here so I can blend in, says Sonic.
You can stay with us as long as you like. Just, you will be staying in Edward's room, and we are supposed to have someone else coming to stay with us, and she will be staying with Edna, says Miss Fox. Thanks, Mom. And we're going to head to my room, says Edward. Edna comes into Edward's room and sits right between Sonic's legs and her head sitting right on his cock. Edward is really annoyed at her for doing this, but Sonic doesn't have a worry look on his face. Sonic really enjoying it and gets a boner from her head resting there.
Oh, what a big boy you are, and I would like to meet your little friend. If we can go into my room, says Edna.
Edward gets a disturbed and disgusted look on his face from what his sister just said.
No thanks, Edna, plus your brother right there, and it would be a little weird, says Sonic.
Edna giggles and gets up very slowly and decides to sit on Sonic's lap instead. Just when Edna was about to sit down, she unzips Sonic's pants, pulls his underwear down. His cock was straight up and Edna didn't have any panties on. Edna sat right on his lap with his dick deep within her pussy. Edward has this disgusted and disturbed look on his face and is trying to hold the anger deep down inside of him and is trying not letting his get to him. Sonic has a grin on his face, but is also awkward for what Edward's sister just did to him now. Laura just realizes what just happened and gives Sonic a kiss. Laura uses one of her hands and slides it down between Edna's legs, while the other is on her chest. Edward just loses it and pulls Edna off Sonic's cock as quick as possible. Edna kicks Sonic in the balls by accident. Sonic falls on the ground after getting hit in the balls by Edna and screams in pain. The cursor was over it. Edward takes Edna outside his room and closes the door. They go to Edna's room and Edward slams the door behind him.
Mind if you finish what she started? Asks Sonic. Sure, I don't mind, and I like to suck on that cock anyway. I also want your cum inside me, says Laura.
Laura opens her mouth and starts to give Sonic a blowjob. Back in Edna's room, if you ever do that again, I'm going to tell Mom and Dad everything. I even know about the Jenny stuff. How you fooled around with Amanda and all the other guys/girls you did. I still have nightmares about the time you hacked into my dreams and I couldn't get hardly any sleep. They're going to give you such a harsh punishment that your only friend will be that thing between your legs. They will lock the door and never let you leave the room, except when you have to go to the bathroom. I also bet the food and drink they bring up for you will have extra nutritional value to it. Before I forget, you will never ever get your one desire to have sex with your brother, which is wrong on so many levels, says Edward in rage.
Monday. I have to go and get some money before we go to the mall, and I need to get things for school this year. I'll meet you here. I'll be there in a couple of hours, says Laura. Sonic and Edward went back to Edward's room. They could hear the sobbing of Edna still across the hall. I like to tell you about the first day of school after I met Laura, says Edward.
Okay, man, just let hear it. I'm curious of how you meet,
says Sonic.
It was my first day of school out there, and my parents just moved into town. After class, I asked Rodriguez where the bathroom was, so I saw him in the hallway, and I accidentally walked into a women's washroom. I really had to take a piss, and I didn't look at the sign. I didn't realize it at the time, but I went into the stall. I let my fly and I looked down. There was a seal sitting there on the toilet. Laura started taking her off, but I told her I already had to take a piss. Laura told me not to pee on her fur. I sat down and took a piss right between her legs. After I did that, I stood up and she started sucking her cock again. After a minute of that, a white burn opened the door and saw us. Laura slammed the door in her face and I lost my erection. The only reason I got that blow is so Laura wouldn't pay attention when I just did. I'm amazed, man.
I'm
amazed, man. I wish that happens to me,
says Sonic.
There's more to it,
says Edward. Edward goes on and tells Sonic the rest of the story.
Well, I wish that happened to me this year, says Sonic. Sonic and Edward both have an erection after that story. Before we can go, can I send an email to this Sonic Master because I'd really like to meet him, says Sonic. Sure, that's nothing on, says Edward. Edward logs into his email and gets it set up so Sonic can type a letter to the Sonic Master. Hello guys, already set up here and there need help off me, says Edward. Thanks man, I think I can manage this, says Sonic. Edward lets Sonic sit down in his chair so he can type his email. Dear Sonic Master, I'm using Edward's email address and this may come to a shock to you, but I am the true Sonic. My full name is Sonic the Hedgehog. Edward has given me the opportunity to send you this letter. I'm in Palmsfield, and I would like to make a challenge to you. Who knows more about me than me? I eagerly await for your reply to see if you're not a coward. If you're not, then you will come to Palmsfield to face me to see who the master of me is. From the true Sonic, love and kisses. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Sonic hits send button and waits for his reply, but he knows it will take a while. That's all I have to say to him, so let's go, says Sonic. Alright, I want to know how to send now this new hedgehog. Let go so Law doesn't know that's it, says Edward. Edward gets some money from his dad. After Sonic and Edward leave Edna finally get out of her room and heads into the bathroom. She cleans off her face and all her tears and tries to put on a happy face. Edna heads downstairs to see her parents sitting there having coffee. They see Edna while she walked into the kitchen. Edna sits down at the table after getting some milk and a sandwich for herself. What's wrong, Sweaty? You've been in your room for a while, asked Miss Fox. Nothing wrong, Mum. I just had to think things over for a while. I also had to go see Jenny and ask her something very important, says Edna. Okay, okay, Sweaty. Just so you know, your mother and I are here for you, says Mr. Fox. Thanks, Mum and Dad, for your concern, says Edna. Edna finishes up her milk and her sandwich and heads over to Jenny's place. Edna walks up to the door and rings the doorbell. After a couple of minutes, the door opens and sees Jenny standing there. Hi, Jenny, says Edna.
Hey, Edna. I thought you were somewhere else. I thought Scotty was coming over today. I hope nothing wrong with him. What can I do for you?
Says Jenny. Can we talk privately in your room so your parents don't hear us? Asked Edna.
Sure, it must be important if you came to see me,
says Jenny. The girls head up to Jenny's room. You know about me and my previous relationship with you, says Edna.
Yeah, I know all about that. Yeah, I remember all about it and I'm cool with it. It's St. Lovejoy's and we all do that sort of job. Don't worry, I've never told anyone about it, not even your brother. I've seen you suck guys off in the school, but I don't know how you do it with your brother right there,
says Jenny. I'm sure he notices, but doesn't say anything because Laura gives him a blowjob every day on the way to school. That's all, and thanks for not telling anyone, even my brother, says Edna. Thank you, Jenny. No hard feeling, and I know I got to figure out how my brother knows about that. I'll see you around, and if you see my brother, ask him for me, says Edna.
We'll do my best,
says Jenny. Edna leaves Jenny's place with a lot on her mind. This leaves me... Oh, God. I'm sorry. This leaves me with more questions than answers. Like, how does my brother know and who told him? If no one tells me, I'm going to have to ask my brother personally, Edna says to herself. Meanwhile, at the mall. Edward and Sonic both head off to the mall to see Laura, but she's nowhere in sight. Edward sees some of his fellow classmates and his friends there. Edward sees Scotty in the food court, really upset while they were standing in line to get some food. Sonic and Edward walked up to Scotty to see what the matter with him. Scotty has tears down his face and his eyes were all watery. What's wrong now? This is really upset, asked Edward.
My mom just died. I need a call from my dad.
The doctors say it was a heart attack, but I bet it was this new principal that did this to her. I overheard him saying that he was going to train the parents to be stricter to their kids. That what caused her to die, but the heart attack did her in, says Scotty. Wait. Okay. The stricter their kids made her die, but the heart attack did her... What? She died twice. Cool. I'm so sorry, man. Is there anything I can help you? Asked Edward. I'm going to find out that bastard Ed, and kill him with my dad's sniper rifle. I'm going to shoot him a whole bunch of times before I kill him, says Scotty. That won't bring your mum back, and you will go to jail, or even worse, death row! Which is nothing to do with jail, obviously. I'll help you out, man, but I first got to find out who's giving Eggman all this information. It could be any one of you. Don't trust anybody except the police. No, except the people close to you, says Sonic. Who are you and why are you here? Asks Scotty. My name is Sonic the Hedgehog, but just call me Sonic. I came here on a mission because there's a spy among you that wants to ruin everyone's life. Eggman became your principal so this plan can be put into action. We got to be careful or else who knows what he will do to us just as normal or as normal as possible. He won't get into any trouble. Who knows what torture he will put us through if we disobey him, says Sonic. There's the funeral. We will come down and pay our respects to your mom, says Edward. It's this Saturday at 2:30 in the Poundsfield Cemetery. Just be nice to everyone because my whole family gonna be there. You're also going to have to wear a tuxedo, and I'm here to get one, but I'm too upset right now. Can you guys just leave me alone? Oh, Scotty. I'm taking time, but I need a little bit of it. Little bit of it. Someone also saying this in this little school there, so here's some settle this matter. Just let it all out, man, and it's better to let it out than keep a little bottled up, says Edward. Edward and Sonic leave Scotty alone, and they take one last at him. Scotty was pouring out tears and keep yelling, Mommy, Mommy, I miss you, Mommy. I'm going to help and stop that man for what he did to you, Mommy. The yelling could be heard through the whole mall, and everyone came to see what was the matter. While the crowd was all fixed on Scotty, Edward saw some other people he knew from school. Edward and Sonic walk over to meet these people. Sonic, I'd like to introduce these people here, says Edward. These who are Sloth, and if he puts his benches, he will be so much better in school. There are nicknames for him called Sloth the Moth? That's stupid. Nitro, who has always had a wooden sword on him and likes to think he is tough. He tries to fight more really guys and not like beat up just as badly. His sign always sits beside himself as a class. Okay. Those who love to show off thought to set spoon at any given moment, and still hasn't let go of his dreams. Tom is a big black cat who lives beside his nickname is Tommy Boy. He is crazy at the most inconvenient time and wants to have sex with me. I once was going to the bathroom at school and he busted the door open and forced his dick in my mouth. He also blew his load in my mouth and I forced myself to swallow. If I didn't, he would cut my dick off. And you're friends with this rapist? Christ. Sometimes everyone calls him Sam, because that's his name, who has a crush on Jessica but can't work out the courage to tell her. He also looks out for all his friends at school. He also knows martial arts, so don't pick a fight with him, he will kick your butt. This is Ralph and his sister Carmon, who moved from Japan. Ralph has a wooden sword on him so he won't get kicked out anymore. I've seen him do one and it's awesome! He looks a really fine young girl, but nothing on guys, but we hope he'll get past that one day. He also going out with Lindsay and told us about his first time with her at the business store. His sister Carmon is cool and is trying to help his brother get over his sinus. It's somewhat working, but not completely, because his sister keeps trying. That's all the people that I know from school here, but you will see more of the kids once the school year starts, says Edward. Hi, I'm still new in town, and I'm glad to meet some of Edward's schoolmates before school starts, says Sonic. Hi! All 7 of them say it at the same time. That's some good choreography. Let's go outside and talk with this Scotty alone, says Edward. All 7 of them head outside while the crowd still hovers around Scotty. The moment the 7 of them are out the door, Scotty looks up and sees the crowd around him. Scotty's eyes are still watery, face is wet from the tears, and his black button-up shirt with blue flames going up the arms and the bottom of the shirt going out of the collar, which is his favourite shirt, is all soaked from all the crying. Scotty runs through the crowd and heads to the washroom. He wasn't looking which way he was going into the washroom. After getting in the washroom to be left alone, he clears his eyes off and sees he's in the woman's washroom. Oh crap, my arm is after today, Scotty says to himself. Scotty takes a closer look in the washroom and sees Amanda standing there and wondering what the matter. Hi, Scotty! What the matter? Asks Amanda. My mom died from a heart attack. We had a fight and I never forgave her. I also never told her how much I love her as my mom, says Scotty. I'm really sorry, Scotty, and your mom and I were going out at the mall on Saturday to buy your birthday present, says Amanda. Saturday is the day of the funeral, says Scotty. Scotty starts crying even more than he was. I'll come Saturday to the funeral to pay my respects. I'll give you something that will make you feel better even for just a little while, says Amanda. I would like to feel a bit better, even if it's just for a little while, says Scotty. Amanda checks the bathroom to see if anyone in there except for them. She then opens the bathroom stall and sits down. Come in here, and I'll give something that you won't forget, says Amanda. Scotty walks into the stall and locks the door behind him. Amanda grabs Scotty's package and feels how big it is. She then unzips his pants and pulls down his underwear. Amanda looks at Scotty's dick and it looks like 12 centimeters long. Ooh, dear. Wait, 12 not bad. Kind of small. Amanda starts to tease Scotty by sliding her tongue up and down his cook. Her paw was playing with his balls. Amanda finally sticks her whole mouth on his cock and begins to suck slowly up and down Scotty's shaft. Scotty stops crying for the moment and has a smile on his face. This is the best cocoa I ever got, and nothing can beat this, Scotty says to himself. Scotty spaces out while looking at Amanda sucking on his cock. 12 minutes have passed and Scotty finally comes into Amanda's mouth. Amanda swallows it all and cleans a little bit of cum left on her face. Amanda gets up after taking a couple more sucks on Scotty's cock. Amanda gives Scotty a kiss and pulls down her panties. I know you always wanted me, Scotty, and I bet you saw me come into the bathroom. That's why you ran into this bathroom deliberately, and I want your cock in my ass. I won't ever forget this, says Amanda. I've only dreamed of this moment for as long as I can remember, and I never thought it would come true. I'm going to give you something to remember for a while, says Scotty. Scotty slowly inserts his dick into Amanda's ass. Oh, that feels so good! Do me as much as you want, says Amanda. Scotty starts thrusting slowly back and forward just to enjoy this moment. Faster, goddammit, and my boyfriend doesn't go this slow, says Amanda. Scotty nods his head. Oh my god. Get her done! And yes, ma'am, you will be pleasured, says Scotty. Scotty starts going faster, and Amanda lifts her right leg off the ground.
Scotty sees her foot coming up and he uses his right hand on her foot. Scotty starts massaging her foot softly, and Amanda starts acting sex-crazed. Stop, Scotty! Let me turn around, says Amanda. While Amanda was turning around, Scotty slaps Amanda on the ass. Amanda sits on the toilet with her legs spread out with her juices coming out of her pussy. Scotty puts his dick in Amanda's sweet, moist pussy. He starts thrusting fast into her. Scotty enjoying this moment because he's long dreamed of this day he would finally have sex with Amanda. After 45 minutes, Scotty about to come. Come inside me, Scotty, because I want to feel you inside of me, says Amanda. Scotty comes inside of Amanda pussy, and then Amanda goes down and cleans off Scotty dick. The two of them put their clothes back on and leave separately so no one knows what happened in the washroom. Scotty leaves first and heads out to finally buy a tuxedo. Amanda goes off to buy some women's clothing. I'm feeling a lot better right now, considering what just happened. I know the guys won't believe this, so I'll keep my mouth shut for now. I still miss you, Mom, but right now, I'm truly happy. When this day is over, I'll be depressed again, but I'm going to enjoy this moment till that time, Scotty says to himself. Scotty heads over to the tuxedo store to see what they have. After looking around, he gets some help from the store clerk. The clerk helps Scotty out to find a suit for him to wear. After Scotty pays for the tux, he heads off home to see his dad. Oh dear. And there's so much more left to do. Good luck, everyone.
Sonic Master in New York. I was sitting in my room, working on the script for the next Sonic game. I decided to check my email because I haven't looked at it in a while. I open up my email and notices I have 2 new emails. One from Edward, another from my boss. I click on the one from my boss first. Dear Sonic Master, due to your huge success of your game, we have decided that you can take a break. We have set you up with a 1-year school ship in Pouncefield because we know one of your friends live there. Everything will be paid for, and we have set up an apartment for you to stay at once you are there. Don't forget to take a little break from Sonic and enjoy other things while you're there. From your boss, Ichigo. I hit the reply button and started to write my email. Dear Ichigo, thanks for giving me this year off, and you won't regret it. I'll be leaving on Saturday, and if you need me for anything before then, let me know. From Sonic Master, the one and only who revived the Sonic series from the brink of extension.
Welcome to another exciting edition of Masterpiece Theater. Tonight I will be reading an excerpt from a very, 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 very bad fanfic. So do enjoy. Wednesday. Everyone woke up and smelt like urine. Everyone took a shower 2 at a time. After that was all done, everyone says their goodbyes. Sonic, I'd like to show you something since we're close by, says Edward.
Sure, I'd like to see it,
says Sonic. The 3 of them head off to where Edward wanted to go. Edward showed Sonic and Laura the graveyard. Follow me, says Edward. The 2 of them follow Edward farther into the cemetery. Here it is. This person was a loyal friend of mine, and I'll always miss him, says Edward. All 3 of them read the tombstone.
Here lies Seth, also known as Druid Guile. He was loved by all and missed by many. He was taken by us too soon, for he shall rest in peace. For what he didn't accomplish in life, may he do it in the afterlife. born in 1981, died March 30, 2007. I'm so sorry for your loss, Edward, says Sonic.
All three stood there for a while their emotions took over. Sonic and Laura didn't know what to say to Edward. All three of them stood there for a couple of hours, hoping for the best for them wherever he is now. They all head back to Laura Place and stayed there for the rest of the day. They spent the rest of the day there helping Edward through this difficult time. They all slept in Laura room. Thursday. They got up to have breakfast. Edward's still upset with one of his friends died and having to go to a funeral this Saturday. After breakfast, Edward was still crying because all this death that has happened so close to him.
Laura, can you stay here with Edward for a while? I still have to get a tax for the funeral on Saturday, says Sonic.
Sure, I can stay with him,
says Laura.
Thanks, Laura. I'll be back as soon as I can,
says Sonic. Sonic heads out the door after grabbing his card. Sonic heads back to the mall and sees the crowds are back. Sonic heads over to the tuck store and gets some assistance from the gentleman who works there. After 30 minutes have passed, Sonic finally has a tux for himself and pays for it. Sonic takes a look around the mall before he leaves. Sonic notices a porno store. He sees kids his age walking into the place. Sonic walks in and notices the employee for the month, and it is Scotty Cat.
That can't be the same one I met earlier this week,
Sonic says to himself. Sonic walks into the back room and notices a lot of guys and girls masturbating while a porno running. Sonic stood right behind a fox girl that looks like Edna. He puts his tux down and wipes out his cock. Sonic starts jerking off, and this fox turns around and looks right his cock while playing with her pussy still. She sticks her tongue out and licks the head of his cock. She then opens her mouth and sticks his cock in her mouth as much as possible. She begins to suck his cock, slowly enjoying the taste of it. She never looked up at Sonic, so he couldn't see who it was that was giving him head. After 10 minutes, Sonic and the girl come at the exact same time. The girl drinks all of Sonic come down. She does her pants back up and heads out the door as fast as she could with a smile on her face. Sonic heads out into the mall after he does up his pants to see if he can spot the fox girl. He doesn't see her anywhere. Sonic goes back in to ask the guy there, but he doesn't know who that was either. Sonic also grabs his tux and heads back to Laura's place. After 30 minutes walking back to Laura's house, Sonic sees Edward getting a blowjob from Laura on the couch through the window.
I got one earlier, now he's getting one. Lucky boy, considering everything he's been through since I got here,
Sonic says to himself. Sonic waits till they're done before he comes in the house. Sonic looks through the window and sees they're done. Sonic walks into the house and sees them sitting on the couch.
Oh, you felling, Edward, because you have been really upset since yesterday, asks Sonic.
I'm little better now, plus I saw you looking through the window, says Edward.
Oh, I was trying to hide out of sight. But you saw me and I got a blowjob from a fox girl at the porno store in the mall, but I have no idea what her name is. I also had this felling I've never had before, and I think it love, says Sonic.
Good for you, and I hope you find her eventually because love is blind, says Edward.
Who's Seth anyway?
Asks Sonic. I'll tell you about him. He was a kind and loving young man. He wrote stories and was married. He spoke what was on his mind and was always honest with everyone. He never held anything back. He died from cancer, and it was too late for the doctor to do anything. It's a shame that the good ones have to die so young and taken away from everything that they loved, says Edward. Is there anything else you'd like to tell me about... Oh, wait. Wrong voice.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell me about him?
Asks Sonic. Yes, there is, says Edward. Edward spends the rest of the day telling Sonic and Laura all about Seth and what he did during his life. I wish I
knew him because he sounded like an interesting guy from what you told me about him,
says Sonic. Yes, he did, says Laura.
The master heads off toward his apartment he's staying at. It was only 3 blocks away from where Krez lives. It only took the master 45 minutes to walk there. That's right, 45 minutes for 3 blocks. The master gets to his apartment and the room number was 7, which is not cliché at all. He opens up the door and sees the whole room already furnished and everything set up. The master heads into the kitchen and sees there already a turkey sandwich made, marshmallow salad, cottage cheese, and a blueberry yogurt already out on the table. There also a big glass of chocolate milk beside the food. The master checks to see if the food smells good, and it does. He eats all of it and was quite full after all that. He notices a note underneath the plate. He lifts the plate up and reads the note. Wait, he notices a note under the plate before lifting up the plate. Wow. Man, he's good.
Dear Sonic Master, I hope you've enjoyed your meal. Don't worry, it wasn't poisoned. I'm a huge fan of Sonic, and I'm going to school with you. I've planned this adventure for you, and can you find me before the end of school year? If you can't, someone close to you will die. Here's the rules. You can't go up and ask everyone at school if they sent you this, or anyone else. You can't call the cops. And if you tell anyone what you're doing, I'll know. If you do any of that, this person will die. I'll give you a hint. Use your sonic knowledge to your advantage, and you will find me. Good luck at your computation with the true Sonic.
The master wonders who this could be and how they could know about my computation with Sonic. He ponders on this for the rest of the day. Edward opens the door and sees me standing there.
Hi, Sonic Master. How's it going? Long time no see. What brings you to town?
Asks Edward. Hi, Edward, and I've had a strange first day and I met Krez. I also had sex with his cousin Irina while waiting for him to come back from the funeral. I'm staying here in Pounceville for a year. My boss told me to take a year off. It's called getting fired, kid. And my place has everything set up already. I'm not complaining at all because it saves me a lot of work. I like to see Sonic if he's here, says Master.
Yeah, he's in the kitchen and just follow me, says Edward.
The Master follows Edward into the kitchen and sees the real Sonic the Hedgehog sitting there at the kitchen table. They stare at each other. The Master has a black leather jacket on and black pants on. Sonic has a blue shirt and pants on, even though he's been naked in every incarnation save for shoes.
Sonic, I've been waiting for this moment for a long time coming. I've become the Sonic Master just to prove that I know everything about you.
Everything. I've also given up on my past life to exceed at everything that you're good at. I've trained every single day for this day, and now let's see who the master is. It's either you or me, and that's why I've personally wrote down what we can do in our 3-day competition. I'll show you the paper, says Master.
Well, hello there,
No, that's not a good Sonic voice.
Well, hi there, Faker. I'm the only true Sonic here, but we do look a lot alike. I'm going to kick your butt all over Pounceville. I'll do your competition just to see who the best. Let me see what you wrote down, says Sonic. Well, hello there, Faker. Don't you have anything original to say? You said almost the exact same thing to Shadow, right before you left the space station Ark. You said, Sayonara, Shadow the Hedgehog.
If you're wondering how I know that, is because it's the end of Sonic Adventure 2, and I got the game with me, says Master. The Master pulls the game out of his pocket. Here you go, Sonic. I've got an extra copy at my place. There are 2 versions of this game. The one I'm giving you is the GameCube version, and I've got the Dreamcast version. The Dreamcast version I find better anyway, and it's the last Sonic game for a Sega system. Have fun with it. Here's the sheet of paper I wrote the 3-day competition on, says Master. The Master hands the game and the paper to Sonic. Thanks, now I have a game of myself. I'm curious what you wrote down now, says Sonic. Sonic looks at the game first, and then looks at the paper.
Day 1,
2 laps around Pounceville, 300 push-ups, start immediately when get back from race. Who can grab the most panties off all the girls? 1 panty per girl, only after the other 2 things. Day 2. Trivia that has to do with Sonic. Jerking off stats after trivia. Who can jerk off the most in 1 day? The guy or girl you're with can lick your cum if they want to. Who can lick a girl or suck a guy off the longest while jerking off? Must drink their cum. Day 3. Who can have sex the longest? Oh, not with each other. We'll have 1 guy or girl per person. This'll be done after lunch. You know, gotta have your energy. Get some carbohydrates. Maybe some juice, you know.
Wow, you sure took your time and thought this out, considering what's on day 2 and then on day 3. Don't you think one of us will be quite tired after that? Asks Sonic. No, but you shouldn't have a problem with it, and now you just have to find a girl for those 2 days, says Master. All right, I'll find one, and when we do start, asks Sonic. Tomorrow I'll meet you at St. Lovejoy's at 10 in the morning. We will start when I get there. I'll see you there. And then I got to go and meet up with this one person. See y'all tomorrow. Kyall tomorrow, says Master. Kyall tomorrow, all of them said in unison. The Master steps out the door and head over to see Irina at Krez's place, so we can have more hot funeral sex, I'm sure. Well, that went well, says Edward. Yeah, I thought he was going to be much harsher, and I got to find a girl for Tuesday and Wednesday. Laura, you want to be my partner on those 2 days? Asks Sonic.
Sure, to be interesting. Maybe I can French kiss another sister, or you, or a squirrel.
Edward faints after hearing that.
Sonic, do you mind waking him up?
Asks Laura. Sure I will, says Sonic. Sonic wakes up Edward by pulling on his fur. Edward wakes up really quickly.
I did it again, didn't I?
Asks Edward.
Yeah, you did,
says Laura. Laura, I can't stay around...
Laura, I can't stay around Wednesday afternoon because that when I'm going to the train station to pick up our guest and Edna coming with me,
says Edward.
I'm coming with you, but I...
Oh, what?
I'm coming with you, but I want to stay here,
says Edna.
I'm coming with you, but I want to stay here,
says Edna.
I know what you will be like, and that why you're coming with me,
says Edward.
All right, I'll come, but I won't be in a good mood, Archie,
says Edna.
That's fine with me.
Oh, God. This is brutal. That fine with me as long as I know you're not doing it, says Edward.
Okay, but I'm getting ice cream,
says Edna. Good, that settles it. Okay. I'll get you ice cream on the way there. On the way to the sex contest, says Edward.
Thanks, Edward. Now I'll be in a little bit of a better mood,
says Edna. I'm going out for a run, because I'm going to stretch my legs, says Sonic. All right, have fun, says Edward. Sonic walks out the door after putting his sneakers on. Sonic starts to run as fast as he can when his feet touch the sidewalk.
Goons on Tape is proud to present a previously undiscovered excerpt from Chapter 5 of the classic Sonic in Search of Love.
Sunday. All 3 of them get up and feel some relief that they have said their final goodbyes to Seth and Scotty Mom. Edna heads into her room to get changed. All 3 of them get undressed. Laura notices they both have erections.
Edward, you know what you're saying about that threesome?
Says Laura.
What about it?
Asks Edward.
Let's do it right now,
says Laura.
All right,
Sonic and Edward say at the same time. Laura bends over on all fours.
Sonic, do me at Sonic speed,
says Laura.
All right,
says Sonic. Sonic sticks his cock in Laura butt. Sonic starts out slow and then went his fastest. They spend their lunch talking to the cheerleaders and have a lookout for Sally, but she never shows up in the cafe. The rest of the school day was pretty much the same, and they couldn't find Sally anywhere. The two hedgehogs head back home with Irina and couldn't find out anything new. They were so bored from their first day that they all fell asleep on the couch watching TV. A clue came across the screen, but no one was awake to read it. They slept like babies on the couch for the rest of the day. To be continued.
I really like to know what you all thought of this chapter, so please give me your honest opinion.
Sonic in the Search for Love, a fan fiction by the Sonic Master. This reading brought to you by Something Awful Forum Goon, Red's Revenge. Chapter 7. Uncle Chuck, Tails, and Big are sailing through the great river that once was a forest and on their way to find a frog. They were sailing for many miles and talking about what has happened before they met each other. Uncle Chuck told Big the whole story of how they ended up on that hill before he came to rescue them.
Big, how did you get out of that tidal wave alive?
Asks Tails.
Well, I'll explain it to you so you two know what happened to me before I met you two on that hill,
says Big.
It all began a couple of days before the tidal wave hit. I was on my way to my friend's house to start our trip up north. He sent me a letter that said there were really good fishing spots up north. Come over as soon as you get this letter. It took me 2 days to walk all the way there. His place is way out on the coast. I managed to get there without any problems whatsoever. I knocked on his door, but no one answered. I let myself in because the door was unlocked. I looked around for him, but all I saw was a note and a frog. I picked up the note and read it.
Hello, Big. I'm sorry we couldn't go fishing together, and I've had some urgent business to take care of. I'll be in Bouncefield for a week or so. I'm leaving my frog with you. Just call him Froggy and remember to feed him. All the food for him is in the bottom left-hand drawer in the cupboard. You can use the boat as much as you want while I'm gone. Go enjoy some fishing while you're waiting. Hope to see you soon. If anything happens while I'm gone, come to Bouncefield. You must not forget my frog. I'll be in the Fishing Plains Hotel. My room will be on the 8th floor, room 802. I just hope that doesn't happen. From you, friend, Betty, the cat.
That good? At least I know where Betty will be if anything happens. I sat down and waited for the next couple of days. I went fishing, feed his frog, ate, and went to bed. On the day of the tidal, I took Froggy with me on the boat and brought some food with me. We were out in the middle of the lake. I was feeding Froggy at the time, and the tidal wave was coming toward us. I put Froggy back in his home and began to paddle away as fast as possible. We were no match for the tidal, and it pushed us with it. I managed to stay in the boat, but Froggy fell out. The next thing I remembered after that is I landed on this island and the boat was stuck in the sand. I looked around the whole island for a couple of days to see if I could find Froggy, but he was nowhere to be found. I began digging the boat out the next day. I spent a good 3 hours digging the boat out of the sand. After I got the boat out of the ground, I found my fishing stuff that was buried underneath the boat. I picked it all up and was still in good condition. After moving all that out of the way, I began to dig farther into the sand, and after many hours I found Froggy still in his home. That night, I made a fire and began to feed Froggy his food because he didn't eat for a while. I let him out of his home and gave him some food. He always goes back into his home, but this time he didn't. Froggy began to hop away from me, so I tried to catch him. I tried a couple of times before he hopped into the river. I went to the boat and put it into the water. I looked around to see if I could see which way Froggy went, but I lost sight of him. I sailed around in this river for a while to find him. I just happened to see you guys off in the distance and sailed towards you two. That is how I meet you two on that hill, says Big.
Thanks for telling us how you met us and how you saved our lives, says Tails.
Thanks you very much, says Chuck. I'm just glad I didn't have to spend another moment in this boat by myself, because I was starting to go a little crazy with no one to talk to, says Big. The group let Boat drift in the water for the rest of the day to see if they could find Big's frog. With no avail and the sky was beginning to turn dark, they decided to rest on the nearby land that they found. Once they got out of the boat, they fell onto the sand and fell asleep. During the night, while the group was asleep, the ground began to shake and the land started to move. The group didn't wake up while the land drifts down the river on their way to Pouncefield. The next morning, the group wakes up from their nice, relaxing rest they had. They get up and notice a city right in front of them and wonder how it got here. They get off the island and it rises up from the river. A head appears with a hungry look its face and its mouth open with drool coming down. They stood there for a sec and then they began to run while the face comes toward them. Big's foot gets stuck on a branch and trips onto the rocks. The other two just look back in time to see Big getting eaten whole by this massive creature.
We've lost a friend and a comrade,
says Tails while crying.
Yes, we've had, but he was a little slow,
says Chuck while crying.
Let's go to tell his friend if we find him,
says Tails. We will if we find him, and let's head there now, says Chuck.
Okay, let's go,
says Tails. The two of them walk away very quickly, and they hope this creature doesn't notice them.
I'd like to take this time out and tell you this one thing. I really don't like Big the Cat. He's the worst character Sega ever came up with. I also hated doing the fishing in Sonic Adventure 1. I'm going to making a video eventually about everything that's wrong with the Sonic series. Now on with the story.
They manage to find the hotel after a couple of hours of exploring the city. They get to the hotel and just start walking up to it when it blows up. They are pushed back off their feet and blood begins to rain from the sky. They get on their feet as quickly as possible and run for shelter. They managed to find some close by, but by the time they got there, they were covered in blood.
There goes our only lead, and what do we do now?
Asks Tails. I don't know, but if Sonic here, we could find him. Considering what time it is, he should be at the school right now, says Chuck.
Let's go,
says Tails. They get to the school and don't see Sonic or Sally there, and none of the students know where they are. They begin to walk away from the school, and they get hit from behind with a metal pipe. They get knocked out and fall onto the pavement. They begin to wake up a couple hours later in a dark room and have no idea where they are.
Hello. I'm glad to see you two awake. You two are here as my special guests, and you're not going to leave, says the person.
Why are we here and who are you?
Says Tails with a headache.
I can't answer that, and your guest on honor will be arriving shortly. I'm not telling you that either. Your host will be here tomorrow. I'm just going to leave you two alone for now,
says the person. The person opens the door and closes it right behind them. Footsteps could be heard outside. Tails and Chuck look at each other with tears in their eyes. A gas comes into the room through the vents, and they try to hold their breath, but it doesn't work. The two couldn't hold their breath any longer, and they begin to paint. They begin to breathe in the gas and begin to close their eyes slowly. After one last look at each other, their eyes fully close. The person walks down the hall and into the host's room. The room was dark, with a little light shining in through the windows.
Hello there! Have you completed what I've asked of you?
Asks the host.
Yes, they're in the room and have been taken care of,
Says the person.
Good! I shall see them tomorrow, and then everything will be explained to them then,
Says the host.
Yes, till tomorrow. And do you want me to meet you here?
Asks the person.
No, there's no need. I'm going to see them myself, and if there's any problem, I'll call you, says the host.
Okay, I shall leave you be in hopes everything goes well,
says the person. Bye, says the host.
Bye,
says the person. The person opens the door and heads outside. The person walks home and wants to relax after the long day. The person has a grin on their face the entire night before they went to bed. Saturday, what a day, grooving all week with you. The host wakes up and gets ready to go see the guests that are waiting there. After having breakfast, the person walks out the door and heads to work. The person gets to work and puts some stuff in the office there. The person walks up to the door where the guests are being held and opens the door. To be continued.
Are they really dead? Who's this person? And is it the same one in Chapter 6? Who the host? I want to see them. There's still much to answer, but so much of the school year left. I hope you all like this chapter, and please post your comments on what you think so far. Also, do you guys / girls want anything particular in this story? I'll try to add it in the best I can. I decided to take the
24 stuff out. Oh, Jesus Christ. At least it's not RoboCop.
Goons on Tape is proud to present the classic, Sonic in the Search for Love.
Chapter 8. The following take place during Chapter 6 and afterwards. Tommy and Ralph are at the schoolyard, teaching each other some new fighting techniques. After a couple hours of training, they decided to have a sparring match to see how much they have improved over the couple hours of training. They both practiced the moves they learned on each other, and they weren't using their full strength. The sparring session went on for 30 minutes.
Thanks for the training and the spare session,
says Tommy.
Oh, so now let's go back to my place,
says Ralph.
All right, let's go,
says Tommy. The two of them head out of the schoolyard and head back to Ralph's place. After a 30-minute walk, there they see Rodriguez and Scott running in opposite direction of them and decided to follow them. They both thought it was odd that Scott was with Rodriguez, the school bully. They stayed their distance back from them so they wouldn't be noticed by them. After 29 minutes and 55 seconds, they see those two enter the building. They stand outside of the building and overhear what's going on inside, but decide not to interfere for the time being until they absolutely have to. Ralph puts his back onto the building and leans against it. They overhear this person just about to reveal who they are, and the wall gives out that Ralph leaning against and makes a loud crashing noise. The person put their hood back on and turns the lights back off.
Damn you two, you've ruined everything,
says the person.
We just want our friends back and won't cause you any harm,
says Tommy.
It is too late for that now, because you two have stumbled onto something bigger than you can comprehend,
says the person. The person sets some dynamite all over the building and walks out the back door.
Where are you?
asks Ralph.
You've got 5 minutes before this place blows up, so say your prayers,
says the person. The lights go back on, and they could see dynamite covering the place, and it on a countdown. They see all their friends tied up in chains, and Rodriguez on the floor. Nova was still out cold. Krez and Scott were sweating nervously because they don't want to die like this.
I'll get Rodriguez,
says Tommy, frantically.
Good thing I brought Salvador with me, or I never would be able to free them,
says Ralph as he pulls out his sword and runs towards them. After 4 minutes and 30 seconds, Ralph gets all the chains cut. Scott picks up Nova, and they all run for the door. Tommy lying there on the ground exhausted next to Rodriguez. The rest of them look at him and take one last look at the building just in time to see it blow up. They were knocked off their feet and land near Tommy and Rodriguez. After a couple of minutes, the group gets up and Rodriguez is lying on the ground. Nova wakes up and gets to her feet.
"Who was that person in there?"
asks Tommy.
"It was my sister, but I thought she died 5 years ago. I even went to the funeral and said my final goodbyes to her. There was a body in the casket and everything. I loved her, and she's going way too far and must be stopped. Oh!"
says Krez while crying. "Your sister," says the rest of them.
"Yes, her name is Valerie Caravan, and she is my twin sister,"
says Krez. "Twins," says the group, and their eyes light up.
"We should go see Sonic and all. They're at the master's place because your house is destroyed,"
says Scott.
"Let's go,"
says Krez.
"What about Rodriguez?"
asks Ralph.
"Leave him. He got what he deserved, and a piece of his own medicine,"
says Nova.
"Sounds good, and he sure got what was coming to him,"
says Krez. The group begins to walk away from Rodriguez, and Scott takes one last look at him. Rodriguez's eyes begin to open, and he begins to cough blood. Scott runs back to Rodriguez to see if he was okay, and notices blood on his face.
"Does anybody have a phone on them?"
says Scott. "No," says the group.
"Why?"
asks Krez.
"He coughing up blood and his ribs might be broken,"
says Scott.
"Oh shit, we don't want to kill him. We just want to teach him a lesson,"
says Tommy. Ralph looks around and notices a payphone and runs up to it. He picks up the phone, and there's no dial tone.
"Oh, shit!"
says Ralph as he punches the phone his hardest. A dial tone comes back on the phone, and Ralph immediately dials 911.
"Hello, 911. What is your emergency?"
asks the operator.
"Hello, we have a student with us and he's hurt badly. He has broken ribs and he's coughing up blood. Someone should get here soon because he needs seriously help,"
says Ralph in a panic.
"Someone shall be there shortly, and we have the phone traced. They'll be there in 10 minutes,
says the operator.
"Thanks,"
says Ralph. Ralph hangs up the phone and tells the group that someone will be there shortly, and they might want to ask us questions.
"We can't stay here, or who knows what will happen?"
asks Krez.
"Yeah, considering all this weird stuff started, I don't know who to trust anymore,"
says Tommy.
"Ooh, what about that Sonic fellow? He seems to know what's going on. Does anybody know where he lives?"
asks Scotty. "No," says the group.
"I think Edward or Laura will know because he was hanging out with them. He also stayed at Edward's house for over a week,"
says Ralph.
"All right, let's head there,"
says Krez. The sun begins to rise, and sirens could be heard off in the distance. The group runs for it and hides behind a building because the police will think that they did this. They manage to hide from the cops and ambulance while they are taking Rodriguez away. After 10 minutes, the ambulance and the cops drive away in a hurry to the hospital. The group heads over to Edward's house after the coast is clear. They manage to get there after a 45-minute walk. They head up to the door, and inside of the house is completely dark. They didn't want to wake the whole house up, and they looked on the ground for a small pebble. Scott finds one and throws it at Edward's window. After a couple of minutes, the light doesn't go on, and Ralph has a handful of pebbles. Everyone takes 2 pebbles out of Ralph's hands. They all throw the pebbles at Edward's window and make a slight crack in the frame. After a couple of minutes, a light comes on and someone comes closer to the window. Edna shows her head and surprised to see how many people want her. This begins to make her all wet, and one of her hands slides down to begin playing with herself. Edna notices Tommy there and decides to stop. Edna slides open the window and yawns while looking like she's half asleep.
"It's 6:15 in the morning. What do you all want? We also have school today,"
says Edna with her eyes barely open.
"Is Edward there?"
asks Krez.
"No, he's at Laura's. And Tommy, you want to come in?"
asks Edna.
"Thanks, Edna,"
says Krez. I'll come in and see you, my princess. I'll see you guys later. I'll be with my Edna tonight, says Tommy. Bye, Tommy, and hope you have fun, says Scott, and gives him a wink. The group waves goodbye to Tommy while he enters the house and heads up to Edna's room. The rest of them leave and head over to Laura's house. After 20 minutes, they arrive, but see no car in the driveway, and the lights are off in the house. Ralph tries to open the door, but it locked. He also rings the doorbell and waits a couple of minutes, but no one answers the door. Scott picks up some pebbles and makes sure it's the right window this time and throws them at the window. After a couple of minutes, a light doesn't come on, and everyone wonders where they are. They decided to call it a night and tried to get at least a little bit of sleep before school starts in 3 hours. They all go their separate ways home. They all arrive at school and sees Tommy with a smile on his face, and they realize what happened when they left. They also quite tired from last night's events. The first part of the morning went quite slow, and it just seemed to go on forever. The lunch bell rang, and they walked to the cafe, trying to stay awake. They get in there and see Edward and Laura sitting at a table, with their lunch staring into each other's eyes. After they went and got their lunch, they sat with Edward and Laura. "Hi! How it's going?" asked Scott.
Not bad. We were at Laura's house last night,
says Edward.
"We came back, but no one was there,"
says Krez.
"We were there, but we were camping out in the backyard. That is why you didn't see us,"
says Laura.
Oh, that explains a lot. And we should have looked in the backyard, but it didn't cross our minds,
says Ralph. "Do you know where Sonic, Irina, and the Master are today?" asks Scott.
"No idea, but I can show you where they live,"
says Laura.
"Thanks. Let's go after school to their place because we have to talk to them. It's really important." "Hoo-hoo,"
says Krez.
"All right, meet me at the flagpole after school over,"
says Laura. They ate the rest of their lunch in quiet, and were all waiting for the school day to end. The last 2 classes seemed to drag on from their important meeting with them, but the time wouldn't go by any quicker. The final bell rang at 3:30, and they all grabbed their stuff and headed towards the flagpole. After a couple of minutes, all of them show up and head off to see Sonic and all. After a 15-minute walk, they get to the master's place and knock on the door. No one answers the door, and Ralph tries to open the door and finds it unlocked. They head into his apartment and sees that the whole place trashed. There a note on the fridge, and they all take a look at it.
"Hello, my friends. I'm currently out doing some investigating on all the strange things that have been happened over the past couple of days, and I'll be back on Monday to let you know what we've learned. Don't worry about us. We will see you soon. From Sonic."
"That's good they're doing some investigating, but I don't think that his handwriting. But I'm not sure, though. I also think we should stay here this weekend and clean up a little before they get back," says Scott. "Agreed," says the group. They look out of window and to blood, smoke, and rubble on the ground where a building used to be. They're open wide and hope that it doesn't happen to this place. They clean up the place up the rest of the day and all call their parents to let them know where they were. Over the next couple of days, they were trying to find thing out of what has happened and who was behind all this. They went to bed Sunday night in knowing that they would be back tomorrow. Monday. The group wakes up and makes themselves some breakfast, and their nerves are at ease. After they were done breakfast, they cleaned up and are getting ready for school. They all were just about to head out, but they could hear some talking on the other side. They run and hide behind the couch just in time for the doors to start opening. The door burst open and a couple of people were standing there. To be continued.
Chapter 9. The 3 of them get up Friday morning after their long rest to see if they could find any clues to find Krez and to get a step closer to see what's going on in Pounce Field. After having breakfast, they begin to tear up the apartment to see if there are any clues there. After destroying the whole place, the master remembers that he had the VCR set to record his favorite show that was on last night. He rewinds the tape and then presses play. After 30 minutes, lettering comes across the screen and it reads,
"Come to Zephyr, for I am waiting there for you. If you don't, your friends will die."
The spies in Zephyr. Now we got to go there and capture that person. So then we will know the truth,
says Sonic. Spy? What spy? Asks Master.
I'll tell you the whole story so you two know what's going on,
says Sonic. Sonic tells them everything that has happened to him till the point he arrived in Pounce Field. After 3 hours of explaining the whole ordeal to them, their eyes were wide open and shocked, and they hope they can help him. How do you suppose we get in there? Asks Irena.
I'm not, sure, because, my plane destroyed,
says Sonic. I have an idea on who this spy is. Just at that moment, the Master gets shot with a tranquilizer dart and falls on the floor. Irena rushes over to him to see what has happened. Are you okay, my love? Asks Irena. Just at that moment, she notices sticking out of his neck. Irena pulls the dart and stabs it into the Master's left nut. Sonic cringes in pain.
Pull the dart out now, because he's going to be really mad when he wakes up,
says Sonic while protecting his nuts. In my country, if someone gets shoot with a tranquilizer dart, we stab the guy in one of his balls. For us women, we get stabbed right below our pussy. After that, we suck the guy off or lick the girl out, says Irena while stroking the Master's dick.
Your country, weird, says Sonic and goes to see where that dart came from. Sonic takes one last look at them and sees Irena sucking the Master's dick. After 2 hours passing by, Sonic comes back with no luck on finding where that dart came from. Sonic begins to walk over to where Irena and the Master are, just in time to see the Master wake up with the dart still in his left nut.
You fuck, that hurt, says Master while pulling out the dart. Sorry, my love, it's tradition in my country, and I give you a blowjob while you are unconscious, says Irena. Don't you ever do that again, and thanks for the blowjob, says Master.
What were you saying about the spy?
Asks Sonic. I forget now, but I might come back to me, says Master.
Does anyone, have any other ideas?
Asks Sonic. I have one. Let's steal a plane, says Irena.
Let not and say we did,
says Sonic. I agree with Sonic, says Master. We should leave a note just in case any of our friends show up while we are gone, says Irena.
I'll do that,
says Sonic while he begins to write the note. Good, that's settled, says Irena. You done writing that note? Asks Master.
Yep, let me just put it on the fridge,
says Sonic while going into the kitchen to put the note up. Sonic grabs a magnate and places the note on the fridge. Just at that moment, they hear a plane passing by overhead, and they all think it landed on top of the building. Sonic opens the door and lets them go ahead of him. He closes the door and runs to catch up with them. They wait for the elevator to come to them after Irena presses the button. After a couple of minutes passing by, the elevator comes down and the door is open. They walk into the elevator and the Master presses the button for the top floor. The elevator makes its way to the top floor and it arrives to their destination. They head out of the elevator to find the door to the roof. After 20 minutes, Sonic finds the door, but it's all chained up. After doing a Sonic spin, the chains break and the door opens. Sonic calls the rest of them over and they begin to walk up the stairs to the roof. After making their way to the top, they see a person in the plane. The person looks at them and get out of the plane, then make their way to the edge of the roof. The person jumps off the roof and they head over to the edge of the building. They look down just in time to see a parachute open up and sees the person land on the ground. The person walks into Fishing Plane's hotel, and they head back to the plane in order to start their trip to Zephyr. A note was lying on the pilot's seat, and Sonic begins to read it.
Hello, my love! I hope you enjoy this plane I've sent to you. I know you've been busy since all that has happened. I really enjoyed that one time I sucked your cock, and I hope to do it again sometime. Hope you find me soon while I get from anticipation, from your love, in the lair of the hideous lich.
Who that? Asks Irena.
Not sure, but I saw her once, but I haven't seen her again. I really like to see her again,
says Sonic and begins to cry. Let's go, says Master. Agreed, says Sonic while wiping the tears off his face. They hope into the plane and head out to Zephyr. As they begin to make their journey towards Zephyr, an explosion can be heard, but they decide to keep going in order to put an end to this madness. Wow. Some heroes they are.
Later that night!
Sonic sets the plane in a clearing in the forest outside of Zephyr, and they begin to make camp for the night. After camp was set up, Sonic can see a certain chipmunk off in the distance. Sonic starts to run after the chipmunk, and the other two have no idea what's going on. After a couple of minutes, Sonic catches up to the chipmunk. He picks up the chipmunk, pushes him really hard into the nearest tree.
Chip, what did you do to my plane?
Says Sonic in anger.
Plane? I didn't do anything to your plane,
says Chip.
Yeah, I know you're lying. Just tell me the truth,
says Sonic in anger and pushes Chip harder into the tree this time.
All right, I'll tell you who paid me to do this to you,
says Chip while coughing up blood.
All right, talk,
says Sonic.
Due to the nature of this scene, it will cause some people to feel nauseous and may feel the need to vomit, and the scene has been deleted from this thread in order to protect you from unheard of acts. Thank you and have a nice day from your computer. You'll get this if you've seen Grindhouse. Saturday afternoon.
That what happened when I saw that chipmunk,
says Sonic.
Wow, and let's head to the city now,
says Master. Yeah, let's go, says Irina. They continue their walk into Zephyr in hope to find some answers to all that has happened so far and go see the person Chip was talking about. The walk was peaceful, and they meet Connie standing at the entrance to the city.
Hi, Connie,
says Sonic.
Hi, Sonic. Been a while,
says Connie.
Sure has. Thanks for the help,
says Sonic.
No problem. I'm glad to see you,
says Connie.
Me too, and this is Master and Irina,
says Sonic.
Nice to meet you two,
says Connie. You too, says Irina.
Why don't you girls have a good time, and we'll meet you back here, say around 8 o'clock tonight,
asks Master.
We will, and I'll show her a good time,
says Connie. The girls head off to do girly things, while the two guys head off to meet with the One. After 30 minutes, they head up to the One's house, and Sonic rings the doorbell, but no one comes to the door. Sonic tries again, but no one comes to the door. They head down the steps, and Sonic slips on a banana on the way down the steps.
Are you okay?
asks Master.
Yeah, I'm fine, but what I don't get is why there is a banana lying on the ground,
asks Sonic.
I don't know,
says Master. Sonic looks to his left and sees the same girl from the porno store and begins to run after her. The girl turns the corner, and when Sonic gets there, she disappeared into thin air. Woo! Sonic begins to head back with a frown on his face, and was so close of meeting that girl again. If only Sonic looked up, he would have saw the girl he was looking for.
Sorry for your luck,
says Master.
Thanks, I hope I find her again,
says Sonic.
Let me treat to supper, says Master.
Thanks, man,
says Sonic. They head off to find some place to eat and order some food. They sit down and discuss their next course of action. They take a look at the time and realizes it almost 8 o'clock and should start heading back. After the Master pays for the bill, they head out to meet Irina and Connie. They manage to get back to meet them. The girls waved to them, and then they talked about all the stuff that they did. They all said their goodbyes to Connie and head back to the plane. Once they get there, they all crashed and fell asleep instantly. What? Oh, wait. Oh, okay, never mind. Oh, that kind of crashed. Gotcha.
Sunday afternoon!
They wake up from a much-needed sleep and begin to pack up. After everything was packed up, they threw the stuff into the plane and hopped in themselves. Sonic tries to start the plane, but realizes it out of gas.
What with me and planes?
Says Sonic while slapping himself on the forehead.
I don't know, but I guess we gotta walk and run back to Pound's Field, says Master.
You're right, but when you two are running, you're carrying me!
Oh wait, whoops, that's not Sonic's voice. Well, I'll go with it anyway, says Irina while pointing at the Master. I will, says Master and gives Irena a kiss on the lips. They begin their long trip back to Pounce Field after such a wonderful trip they just had.
Monday!
After such a long trip and being exhausted from all that walking and running, they head back home to cool off. After getting to their apartment, they notice the place was clean and realizes their friends might have come over while they were out. After putting their stuff down, having a group shower, and relaxing on their couch, they take a look at time and realizes they should at least show up for their afternoon classes. They get their uniforms on and head out the door. They get to the school and lunch is almost over. They head into the cafe and notice their friends sitting down talking.
Hi all,
says Sonic. Hi, says Scott. I gotta think of more voices. Screw it. Where were you there this weekend? Asks Krez.
We were in Zambia looking for clues, and you?
Asks Sonic.
I'll tell you the whole story, says Tommy.
Oh.
Let's hear it, says Master.
Okay, here I go, says Tommy.
To be continued!
Chapter 10. Hello, you two, and welcome to our final resting place, says the host. They begin to open their eyes slowly and looks at the person's feet. Their heads began to rise slowly to the person's head. Sally, says both of them with their eyes wide open. Yes, I am Sally, your beloved princess. I saw Sonic on the first day of school, or at least I think it was him, and punched him in the eye, says Sally. He's alive! My son alive! I'm so happy right now, says Chuck, with a smile on his face. That good news, says Tails, while trying to undo the ropes on his hands. Sally notices what he's doing and kicks him in the shin. That won't work, and even if you do manage to undo those ropes or move the chair, you will die from lasers that activate automatically, and the first one aimed for your head. Once there any slight chance of pressure in the room, you'll die, both of you, says Sally. What have I doing while you're in here? Asks Tails. We will all die and you will never see Sonic, says Sally. Why did you get someone to knock us out and put in the room just to kill us? Asked Chuck. Simple. I wanted to see you two suffer before you give in to your own death, says Sally. Okay, but why kill us when we didn't do anything to you, or did we? Asked Chuck. Yes, you did do something to me so bad that it doesn't need repeating. I'll just whisper it in your ear, says Sally. All right, says Chuck. Sally walks over to Chuck and bends over to whisper in his ear. Martha Stewart. While Sally is whispering into Chuck's ear, Chuck nods his head in agreement. Sally begins to stand up and straight and pulls down on her outfit. We have an understanding? Asks Sally. Yes, we do, says Chuck. What were you two talking about? Asked Tails. It's none of your concern, says Chuck. Let's just say Chuck and I have an understanding, says Sally. All right, let me guess you're going to kill me and you and Sally get out of here, am I right? Asked Tails. No, you're not, and what Sally was telling me was personal, that's all, says Chuck. All right, says Tails. We could stay here and talk, but I got other matters to attend to, says Sally while she begins to walk out of the room. The door shuts behind her and she heads back to her office to make one phone call to her assistant from yesterday. Sally picks up the phone and begins to dial the number in. The phone rings a couple of times and the person picks up the phone. Hello? Who is this? Asks the person. This is Sally and I need your help to speed up the process with those two, says Sally. All right, I told you this yesterday, says the person. Sure, I'll be waiting for you and be here as soon as possible, says Sally. I'm leaving right now and see you soon, says the person. All right, see you soon, says Sally. The person hangs up the phone and so does Sally. She goes back to her desk, looks at the picture of the spy on it, and has the name of the spy. Sally has her hand covering the name, begins wondering who this girl is. Oh, it's a girl. Oops. Oh well. Who this girl is and what she is doing here. Sally just stares at it and is in very deep thought. After 30 minutes... Doesn't she have a Game Boy? I mean, come on. 30 minutes staring at a flipping picture? Oh well. After 30 minutes, a knock comes at the door and Sally snaps back to reality. He notices the fireplace is on and throws the picture in there. The picture starts to burn very quickly and Sally just realizes what she's down. She sees a name and tries to put it out, but it was too late because the name is the first thing to catch on fire. Sally gets up after looking at the picture burn and answers the door. She opens the door and sees her assistant standing there. "Hello, Sally," says the person. "Hello, Shino. I need your help," says Sally. "Sure, I'm glad to help you out any time," says Shino. "Thanks," says Sally. "I forget, why are you doing this to your friend from your village?" asks Shino. "I'm doing this to put my old life behind me and no one will remember me. I want to be free from all this and be with Sonic, but to do that I have to kill that girl," says Sally. "All right, I'll do what I do best," says Shino, and she begins to crack her knuckles. Shino walks out of the room and closes the door behind her. She heads down the hall to where the guests are and opens the door. She walks into the room, looks at both of them, and closes the door behind her. She walks to Tails and begins to walk around him. She looks down, sees his two tails, and her hands stretch out to grab them. Her hands squeeze onto them very tightly, and she begins to yank on them very hard. She continues to pull on them. Blood starts to come out and starts flowing down his tails. "Stop that!" says Tails, as he begins to cry in pain. "Never, I'll only stop when your tails come off," says Shino. "Stop, I'll do whatever you want," says Tails while crying in pain. "I just want to see you suffer and that's all I want," says Shino. After a couple of minutes passing by, Tails has both of his tails rip off and blood start oozing out and onto the floor. Tails shuts his eyes because the pain is too much to bear. "You've killed us all," says Chuck. "No, I haven't. The lasers can't detect blood and have a tail," says Shino, and shoves a tail into Chuck's mouth. "Why did you do that?" asks Tails, while crying. "Why not, and how does it feel to be with off Tails, asks Shino, while holding the other tail. "Awful, you bitch, and now I've got to change my name if we get out of here alive," says Tails in pain. "Now to what Tails without tails, or formerly Tails is now Snips," says Shino, and begins to laugh. "No, I got to go back using my first name, Miles. My full name is Miles Tails Prower," says Miles in pain. "Okay, Miles, have your tail," says Shino, and shoves the tail into Miles' mouth. Shino looks down and notices Miles has stopped bleeding from his ass. She begins to walk towards the door, pulls a penny out of her pocket and sets it on the floor. "Whoever drops the tail first will set off the lasers and will kill both of you. Have fun," says Shino, and heads out of the room. Miles and Chuck look at each other and realize what they have to do in order to live through this ordeal. They nod their heads and begin doing it. What is it? Ooh, suspense. Meanwhile, outside of the room. "How did it go in there?" asks Sally. "Good, they will be dead before the day over," says Shino. "That good, I can put my past behind me," says Sally. "That good, and while we have time, let's have some, shall we?" asks Shino. "Let's go to my office to have our fun," says Sally. Begins to turn around and slaps her butt. I'm coming," says Shino, and starts heading towards Sally. They both head to the office for some fun while they wait for their guests' deaths to come. Later that night. "Ha! I finally beat you in Risk after all the times you beat me," says Shino. "Congratulations, you finally beat me, and let's go see our guest," says Sally. "Yeah, let's, and I'm just going to put on my special coat before we do," says Shino. "All right," says Sally. Shino puts on her coat and they both head out to see the guests. As they walk to see them, they begin to picture what has happened to them and their gruesome death. Sally opens the door and lets Shino go ahead of her. They're both surprised that those two were alive and the tails are gone, but their fur all over the place. "You two were supposed to die," says Sally in anger. "We do what we have to do to live, and I ate myself. Myself tasted good. And what are you going to feed us next?" asks Tails. says Sally, and begins to pull on her hair.
What does G.U. stand for on your coat?
asks Chuck. Oh, this it stands for Girls Unit, says Shino. We'll leave you two be for tonight, but tomorrow the torture going to be worse, says Sally. They storm out of the room and head back into the office for the night. When they go back to the office, they begin to watch TV. After a little bit, Sally begins to look through the DVDs lying around and picks up the movie Hostel. She pops it into the DVD player and they sit back and watch it. After the movie ended, they began to discuss what to do with them the next. The discussion lasted well into the night. They fell into each other's arms and fell asleep. Sunday. Sally and Shino wake up to the news that was on the TV. The news story that they are talking about is internet bullying and flaming. Oh my God, no! No, not bullying in the... Oh, this is a crisis. This is a crisis that faces the entire universe. The story goes on for 10 minutes about how it's destroying people's reputations and their privacy online. After hearing this, Sally and Shino look at each other and realize they can't kill them. What? Okay. They head out of the office and head to where the other two are in the torture room. They get to the room and Shino opens the door. They walk in and turn on the light and sees that those two have escaped somehow during the night. How did they get out? Asks Sally. I don't know, and I thought you said this room was escape-proof, says Shino. I know what I said. You have a camera set up for this room? Asks Sally. Yeah, I do, and the video feed goes to your office. Follow me, says Shino. All right, says Sally. They head out of the torture room and back to the office. Sally opens the door and lets Shino in first. Shino heads over to the desk and opens the third drawer on the left-hand side. After Shino opens the door, she presses the red button hidden on the other side. The center of the desk opens and a 27-inch TV comes along with a DVD surveillance videos. After a couple of minutes searching through DVDs, Shino notices that the DVD from last night is missing. Sally, we have a problem, says Shino with concern. What is it? asks Sally. The surveillance DVD from last night is missing, says Shino. How is that possible? asks Sally, and begins scratching her head. No idea. We got to look for them, says Shino. They begin to make their way out of the building when a voice came over the speakers. Hello, my dear friends. You like to torture furries because they did something horrible in your past. You can't give them a chance to live. You don't enjoy life and just like to torture others that do. For that you shall die for your sins unless you can escape. As soon as the song Free Bird ends, you shall die. The game starts now, says the voice. The song begins to play and they begin to make their way to the front door. They try as hard as they might, but the door wouldn't open. They run to the utility closet and Sally unlocks the door while her hand starts to shake. The door wouldn't open after it was unlocked. They used their body weight and after a couple of tries the door finally opens. The song half over, says the voice, and begins to laugh. We got to hurry, says Shino axially. I know, says Sally, shacking. They begin to look around frantically and they see a sledgehammer and an axe. Shino grabs the axe and Sally grabs the sledgehammer. They run to the main entrance of the building with weapons in their hands. Meanwhile, outside...
Thanks for rescuing us from that horrible place,
says Chuck. We are glad we could help, and since that cat saw you going, we knew something had to be done, says the guy. Thanks again. And what was that place? asks Miles. A medical arts building which was shut down years ago, says the guy.
Who are you two anyway?
You really don't want to know, asks the guy.
Yeah, we do,
says Chuck. All right, says the guy. Oh my good Jesus Christ on a popsicle stick! No! No, okay. I'm going to do it French. Okay. To protect the world from devastation, says Jesse. To unite our people within our nation, says James. To unite with truth and love, says Jesse. To stand our reach in the stars above, says James. Jesse, says Jesse. Bob, says James. We are Team Rocket, says both of them in unison. Oh, God. Meow that right, says Meow. We didn't ask for a long speech, says Miles. It just feels so good to say, says James. It sure does, says Jesse. Now we're off, says James. They look over at the building just in time to see it blow up. They all get knocked off their feet from the enormous blast. After a few minutes, they get back on their feet and stare at the carnage below. Did you guys have anything to do with this? Asks Chuck. Chuck turns around and notices that they're not there anymore. At least we know he's alive, says Miles. Yeah, now let's go find him, says Chuck. They head off into the night to find out where Sonic lives, and to tell him all that happened to them since they last saw each other. After a long walk, they collapse on the sidewalk from exhaustion. Monday. Chuck and Tails wake up and slowly get up from where they were lying. After a couple of minutes getting their sense of direction, they head to the nearest building and they see the name Sonic Master. Miles was just about to press the button when one person is coming out. The person lets them in and thanks them. They head to the elevator and Chuck presses the button. After a few minutes, the elevator comes down and they step on. Miles presses the button and the elevator begins to head to the right floor. After the elevator stops, they get out and head to the room. They hear voices on the other side. After a couple of minutes of disusing what to do, Miles turns the handle and finds the door unlocked. They head in and begin to wonder where everyone went. Hello, is anyone there? Asks Chuck. No one answers. We're looking for Sonic. We're friends of his, says Tails. They all get out from couch and they begin to walk closer to them. Hello, I'm Krez. This is Scott, Ralph, Edward, and Laura, says Krez. All of them wave. We haven't seen them, but we should be back today if we want to wait here for them. You can if you want, asks Scott. That sounds good. We're quite tired anyway, says Tails. We've got to head off for school. Bye, Edward. They all say their goodbyes and head out the door to go to school. Chuck and Tails both have a shower after all that they've been through, and then they immediately go to the bedroom and falls asleep. Later that day. Hey man, that all happened while you were gone, says Tommy. That took a lot longer for you to tell me about all that. We missed our afternoon classes because of this, says Edward. Hey, we'll get got up tomorrow, says Tommy. Let's hope so, says Scott. I can't remember what Scott's voice is like. There are too many flipping characters in this piece of crap. They head back to the apartment and see Chuck and Tails sitting there watching TV. Sonic runs over to them, gives them a great big hug, and is very happy to see them alive. The celebrations continue well into the night, and they all spend their night at the apartment. The next chapter is going to be a little farther into the school year. Not saying how far, because I'm not sure myself at this point. Please post your comments here. Are the girls dead? Please cast your vote now. Please call 09018 333 106 to vote Sally dead, or you can smash your head against the table and weep for your lost soul from reading this horrible, horrible affront to literature, nature, and God.
Sonic the Hedgehog and Mills Tails have been best friends for years. Lived in auto villas with their parents. Ooh. They had some amazing adventures fighting off evil Dr. Eggman and his sidekick Snively, who is Eggman relative. They had some tragedies along the way. With the loss of Sonic's Uncle Chuck. Bunny held a big funeral for them, where everyone came to see them for one last time before they were buried underneath the earth. They both died from Eggman massive attack, while everyone managed to get away to safety. Sonic and Tails were off to destroy Eggman's factory when this happened, and there was no time to get back in time to save them. There was no time to get back in time, 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 no time to get back in time to save them. They managed to destroy the factory while there was no security. Tails, where's everyone? 'Cause this is way too easy, says Sonic. I don't know, but I think this is a distraction so Eggman can get away with his evil plan. Sorry, plane, says Tails. You got it, Tails. Let's head back to North Hole and see what is happening down there. But little did Sonic know that things were about to get so much worse. They were trying to get back as fast as possible to the village, and Sonic was carrying Tails so they'd get there quicker. Tails went down and Sonic grabbed his package. Tails slowly caressed his hand around his member, started playing with it. When this happened, Sonic stopped as quickly as possible, 'cause his mind was on what his best friend was doing. This is the first time this has ever happened to him. Sonic lay on the ground while watching what his best friend was doing. He lied on the ground, the ground, the ground. He lied on the ground, he lied on the ground, he lied on the ground, the ground, the ground. He lied on the ground while watching what his best friend was doing. The ground, the ground, the ground. He lied on the ground. Oh God, he lied on the ground. He lied on the ground. Tails, he turned around and stuck his feet as bright as Fro's best friend's face. On the grabbed his friend member and stared, playing with it instead, jerking him off. He looked down at his friend and he was slowly sucking up and down at his clock. He took his mouth off Sonic's cock and told us to suck it, bitch. He then went back to work on Sonic cock. Sonic then started slowly sucking his cock and he enjoyed it very much, and then forgot all about the trouble in the world. And Sonic and Tails both come into each other's mouths and drank it all down. Then Sonic right back to suck up Tails. And his friend does do the same. Went on for another 10 minutes. They both got up after they cleaned the cum off each other's mouths, then cleaned it off to his face. They French kissed and went back home after Sonic told me this was my first time he'd ever done this sort of thing. Tails said, I hope you like that, 'cause there's more to come tonight at my house. Tonight at my house. Tonight at my house. Oh yeah. Tonight at my house. Oh God. Tonight at my house. Oh, tonight.